Hey guys, how's it going? Let me hop on over here and show you guys what I'm going to be working on today. Well, you can see Ranger Dog down there doing his Ranger thing. Blaze Bits, how's it going? Too Woke, Too Toke, that's pretty funny. Good name. Um, but I am, so I'm finishing up a project. I went through and I made sure that I kind of stripped out all of the sensitive information about the project because, when you do security things, a lot of times companies want to keep, well, their stuff secure. And part of that is confidentiality, right? We don't show everybody everything. How's it going, Blaze Bits? Yeah, I'm working on STIGS tonight. So, get Ranger out of the way here. Got a couple of projects that I've been doing where, generically speaking, the team or the company that I'm working with, they need to have their systems up to a certain standard. And I've showed it on streams before, and I'm probably going to turn into a little project for people to do down in our Discord where, the Secure Technical Implementation Guidelines, or STIGs, they are this way for people to harden a box to like a government standard. And you can go find them. You can go download them. There's a whole bunch of them, right? And this one happens to be like a Red Hat one that we're doing. In fact, hold on. Red Hat. Well, so I take it back. This machine is going to be the Red Hat 8 Security Technical Guidelines. So Red Hat 9 is for even different project that I'm working on. But these ones are so generically what I can show you guys about this is kind of what I'm cleaning up at the end of this. But there's a CPU STIG. This is the date that I did it on. So these two were a while back. And then there's a GPU, which is their graphical processor unit. So their CPU image and their GPU image look like this. And you get this score as you kind of knock out these little whack-a-mole systems that you clean up over here. You get them kind of cleaned up to a certain level, and this company wanted at least a 90% STIG score, right? And then there's some open things. These are things that are not secure about the system or that I can't dispose of in some way, depose in some way. But these two systems are pretty good. But then I have login nodes, which have to be at a little bit higher standard, and then also their head nodes, which also have to be at a little bit higher standard. So I have to clean these two up tonight, and I was just going to kind of show you guys what that process looks like. What does it mean that, like over here on these ones that are done, like everything's green. There's a little bit of red over here and a little bit of this gray. But really, you don't want anything here that hasn't been reviewed before. So these gray parts down here are not reviewed. So I got 98 on both of these that I have to in some way put into a state. They need to be into a not a finding or not applicable. So I'll show you guys the states that you can pick. You can set a status to open, meaning there's still that problem. There's not a finding, which means I have a way to explain this as a thing that either doesn't apply in this situation or it's just not really important. Not applicable, you can't do not applicable unless the text over here in some way says not applicable is allowed. So like not applicable would be like if there was a finding that a PAM, which is your pluggable authentication modules in Linux, did not allow, let's say pluggable authentication modules did not allow certain things to happen, but if you're in at least version Red Hat 8.9, this doesn't apply. But then, like, you find that this box that you're in is actually a Red Hat 8.8, you could not do not applicable. You would not be allowed. That, well, I mean, you can do whatever you want in the report, but it's just not, it's going to come up later. So, and then there's not reviewed, which, again, we never want to leave anything in a not reviewed state. You got to review everything for security, because security, I mean, rightly so, they are sticklers. They have to be sticklers. And if you're on the engineering side of things, as I currently tend to be, I've run the security. I've told you guys I've been the red team lead before. I've done that stuff, but I was the red team technical lead for a company with over 5,000 systems, so it was pretty big. We just can't leave stuff open, and you got to remember, like, security, especially when you're dealing with your GRC team, which is the team you're going to see the most in this space, which is governance, risk, and compliance. You're going to, all they do is check boxes and do audits. So we need to make sure this stuff's good. Hey, Action Yum. Hopefully this stuff's useful to you. It thinks your name is Action Yum. All right. Anyways, So I'm going to be cleaning these up. Again, I've stripped out information here that would be sensitive, and we're just going to be, SK, how's it going? We are just cleaning up these servers reports so that I can send them over to this customer and kind of close everything out and kind of have them be happy. So let's start with, there's a few ways you can do this. I want to show you guys this as you're running, as you're doing STIGs. And again, these two are already really cleaned up, so I could close these down. I don't really need these open anymore, but I'm going to leave them open in case I need some of their reviewed answers for these other ones, just to see what I did, to show you guys this. By the way, the DISA STIG viewer is on version 3 now, but 2.17 is still one that people tend to use. Like most of the people that I deal with in the government side of things, they like using the 2.7 STIG viewer, so this is the one that I'm using. Again, anything over 90% is pretty good, so these two systems have been deposed over to 96%. I'm not going to show you guys the ones that are open for them, just because I don't, even though this isn't a SCIF environment, we're not going to do that. But these ones over here, let's go look at, I wanted to show you guys, we can look at them by category. So I could say, well, what are just the category ones? And we'll really clean up these. And this top one right here is RHEL must implement NIST FIPS cryptography to follow, to provision digital signatures and generate cryptographic hashes. So FIPS must be on in this system, right? And you got to run this FIPS enable or whatever. And this one here says this is open because when it checked, it did not see the kernel FIPS argument. However, I happen to know from running this system, FIPS is configured, right? Proc, so the command for that is proc or cat proc cmd line shows FIPS equals 1, right? So then I can take this and I can set that comment that's in my paste buffer now, and I'm going to set this status to not a finding, and it'll go away. And then I can come over to the head node here and do that same thing for the FIPS, and then I can also say that FIPS is not a finding. Because I know that FIPS is cleared, and I know that when they scan it again, it's going to be fine, and that's kind of a decision you can make as you're doing this. You can look at category ones, which you basically have to just close out all the category ones, guys. That's a huge part of this. You can look at category twos, which are kind of considered your mediums, and they'll take up a lot of your time. And then some organizations don't care much about the lows, but when you look at the lows, it's easy to move your score up by clearing out the mediums and the lows. So let's go back over here. Let's go to all. We'll look at them all, because that's probably fine. Or we can look at the cat ones, because I think there's one more that's still open. And this one says, the Control-Alt-Delete sequence must be disabled on RHEL 8. Locally logged in users who press Control-Alt-Delete when on the console can reboot the system. And let's see what the finding was for this one. Results not tested. But we see this is verified as correctly. You can write this up different ways. We're just going to say correctly configured. Because in the finding, I see that it's good. I can come over here and look on this system, and I can look in the finding and see that same thing in the finding, so that's good. So I'll right click and set the status as not a finding and set the status as not a finding. So that's pretty good. It moves our score up another, 0.3 something percent, which is pretty good. The goal is to get, again, these over 90%. Mr. Muddy Pants, are there open source scans? I can actually run a STIG compliance scan. I know that's a scan. Yeah, Mr. Muddy Pants, there are open source scans. I have a lab. So look, I've got these notes over here. Let me pull up my notes for you guys real quick here. Got to get to let me get to my lab notes. So this is like a Killer Coda lab that you guys know that I build those labs out in Killer Coda. There's I think there's 59 of them now. And this is kind of my, what are STIGs? Where can you find them? Download the scanner. And this is like the outline of my notes for how you look at STIG. Hey, Robdom, how's it going? Robdom, do you mind showing the people the notes or the labs? I mean, and then over on the YouTube side, Yadav. Hopefully this stuff's useful to you. I apologize. I probably would murder your first name, so I'm just gonna call you Yadav. Hopefully this stuff's useful to you. Um, so this is, yeah. So guys, don't worry. I've got these STIGs coming, and there are different ways to do this and different ways to build the fix of that. I probably have to have like 3 or 4 labs to really go through all of that, because there's the concept of like maybe where you go get everything and organize it. Then there's the concept of like scanning and looking at the scan results, right? Like if you've never seen a scan results for a box, when you run the scan, you can pull up all the information about the system and see kind of what the initial reports are. But these checklists are really what your security teams tend to care about. So I'm going to go back over here and I'm going to go to all findings again. And you might notice I've organized these by the status. So I want the open ones up top so that as I knock them out, they will move off of the top and get out of my way or whatever. And then my goal is to, again, get this over 90%, these STIG scores here. So that's where we're at. That's what we're working on. And if you guys got questions about Linux or systems work or any of that kind of stuff, let me know. I'm just kind of hanging out. Some of you may rightly say, gosh, Scott, that security stuff does not look like fun. Well, I'll tell you guys, I've watched more people dislike security from getting into it and then having to do a bunch of reports and stuff like this than I've seen people get into security and like it. So just remember, like, when you first start in some of this stuff, and you know, I'm over on the engineering side of things. I build things, but then I still have to secure them. So I have to interface with the security team. So I have to understand how these tools work, because not because this is where I live, but because this is the system that I monitor. This is the system that I build and run. So I need to understand, are these things actually secure? So let's go look at this next one here. This one says RHEL 8 must display a standard mandatory DoD notice consent banner before granting access to the system via SSH login. And it comes down here, and this thing doesn't show if the banner exists. There it is right there. Okay, so it found it, and it should find it here. I'll go click on this one, and then, yeah. So banner exists per the standard, right? So once I say this, I can right click and say this is no longer a finding. I can come back over here, and I can say, oops, I did not, apparently I didn't copy that, right? This is correctly per the standard. And I was just out at this customer site yesterday, and I can verify that this is right because I looked at it when I was out there. Okay, so that moves me up. Look, that moved me up another 0.27 or so percent, right? And again, we just drive this up towards 90% by showing things are accurate. You get a lot out of these NFs, or these NRs right here. Let's go look at this NR right here. Look here, this one will be fun. So NR is vendor 8 package system security patches and are up to date and installed. So this system is in a SCIF and is secured to the current repository, most current software, right? That sounds good. That is true, right? It's important that the things you say are true. And then now I can say this is not a finding, because in the environment in which this system exists, it is as up to date as it can be for that environment, if that makes sense. And hopefully that makes sense to you guys. And then that bumps us up to 631. If if you guys want to watch that number keep going up, that's what we're doing, right? We're cleaning these systems up. We're looking at, so the scanner doesn't always find all the things. So there are these standard values that have to be looked at, but they do not. But the system can't always do it. Look, so all RHEL 8 disk partitions must implement cryptographic mechanisms to prevent unauthorized disclosure or modification of information that requires at-rest protection. So system disks are encrypted, or are capable of encryption. They have to turn the encryption on these systems, but that system is ready to be encrypted at rest. So I can say that's not a finding. And come over here, same thing, not a finding, right? Boom. Keeps moving my numbers up. And the goal, again, just keep driving our numbers up. What's this next one? RHEL 8 for PKI-based authentication must validate certificates by constructing a certificate path, which includes information as an accepted trust anchor. And relay PKI-based authentication. This system is capable of PKI, but it is not yet configured for this environment. And that will be not a finding, because in this environment, it is capable of doing that, but that's going to be something that they're going to have to turn on as far as that goes. For us, for me, as the person who deployed it, that was not a consideration because that wasn't something I was given access to. Most of you guys know I've been around long enough. I'll set any of this stuff up as needed. And how's it going, Heather? And also Daz over from India on the YouTube side. Hopefully this stuff's useful to you guys. We are taking a set of nodes, which we're generically calling CPU, GPU, login, and head nodes. Those are very common kind of distinctions inside of the high-performance compute space, or sometimes what we call SC, supercomputing clusters. And I already have the GPU and the CPU STIGs pretty cleaned up. They're at 96%. 90 was the goal, so those are pretty good. But over here on these other nodes, I'm still kind of cleaning them up and getting them into a good state. So look at this one. Relay for certificate-based authentication must enforce authorize access to the corresponding private key. Okay. Yeah, so this one was not able to be scanned, but we can verify SSH private keys have a passcode. In this case, so we're not required in this environment to use the passphrase. So if you guys have never seen that before, let me kind of show you what this looks like. Hold on here. Just hop into my home lab box here. If you guys have never seen my home lab, this is what it looks like. Home lab, my little jump box. And what happens is when you do an SSH-keygen, SSH keygen. Yeah. If you just do that, right? And then you say, okay, I want to make a file, and I'm just going to call this like temp some key, just for now, right? Then it asks me if I want to do a passphrase. And if I set a passphrase to like Scott key, and then Scott key, then it will use that passphrase in the future for access to this key, right? It's almost like the passphrase is a lot like a salt, if you want to think of it like that. A salt. A password salt means, yeah, not assault, like you're assaulting someone, but it is to salt the password, meaning it gives a input that allows the hash to change and be unique, right? Yeah, salt, not assault. I'm sure that amuses my wife back there. Okay, so yeah, that's a tongue twister. Yeah, and the closed captioning definitely had no idea what I was talking about. So, in this case, this is an enabled capability for users. We could just verify it. This enabled capability for users. Let's just say, hold on. So let's go. I'm gonna leave this one open on all the nodes because this is technically an open one. I can't guarantee that all the users in the system don't have keys without passphrases, but I understand the purpose of it. It's just I can't justify, because I actually know that some are not. All right, check to see if Linux is active in enforcing mode with the following command. In this environment, so SE Linux is active, but currently in permissive mode for initial system configuration. So we know that this system is allowed to be like that, so I can go ahead and call that not a finding. I have an exception for that. Oh no, that bugs me. Hold on. Let's get rid of that. Why are these not lined up the same? That's scary. Oh, because that one must have already been passed. So okay, that's fine. We'll take that. I don't see that. That's fine. Oh, there's our. Hold on. Okay, there it is. All right, there we go. Good. So we know that one's good. Not defining, that bumps us up to 63.95. ICQ4, yeah, it's a passphrase is like a salt to a password. It allows or to a passphrase to a hash, and it allows it to change the way that it's generated. That's all it is. So I put in a passphrase here, and then it put it into there, and then we've got this ability to go check. Okay, let's just keep moving on. So this next one says Relay SSH server must be configured to use only Mac codes employing FIPS 142 authentication. And then you come down here and you can look on the server if these are set right, right? And we did set these, so I can say past validation 13 August 2024, right? And same thing over here, this past validation there. So it's not a finding. Boom. Should be not a finding. All right. Okay. So over here, must implement DoD approved encryption in the open SSL package, and then comes down here, and so we have FIPS enabled. And if this one was like, well, I'm a little confused, or if I don't know how this one was supposed to have come out, then I can go look at the vulnerability 230254 over in one of these ones. What was that? That was 230254. So 230254, which is right here. And I say this is properly set in the system because I know that this was set up on these nodes. So boom, and this one is 230254, boom, and then I set that. So because these nodes were mostly set with the exact same scripts that I wrote, then it allows this to, or it allows me to say I know that these were configured right. Also, Robodom, I think I missed your resubscription. I appreciate that. I don't know if my alerts are busted, but I appreciate that. Let me get this other thing out of the way so I can see you guys on YouTube side. Nick Hill over on YouTube, thanks for stopping by. Yeah, again, we're just cleaning up systems, right? You got all these there are things that the system couldn't check. And because it couldn't check them, we have to go manually write up if we know they're good, like whatever our check was of them. And in this case, we wanted to make sure that TLS was good for the GNU TLS, that's Transport Layer Security, and make sure that TLS is good and working with FIPS. And this can be the same thing, 230.256, 230.256, and in this case this was not a finding. How did this get set to not a finding? Yeah, FIPS is enabled on this, and crypto policies backend GNU utils config, transport layer security. By the way, the minimum TLS is 1.2, but you really want to go to 1.3. I'm gonna say on this one that minimum standards are met, and I know that they're met because the packages that are designed to run them are able to handle that configuration. So I'm gonna call this not a finding. So I know that that's set properly, or that the system can handle it. Yeah. Robodon, I think I missed it. I don't know why. Like my alerts are real hit or miss. Sometimes people will like they'll do like a message or something, and then it'll come right through. And sometimes people will do a message and just nothing, right? Like I get nothing from it. And it's kind of like it'll just pop up sometimes, like, oh hey, somebody's, yeah. Well, Robodom, there's, it's weird. About a year ago, Twitch implemented all their own stuff, and then they just give you like these. They're not called webhooks. They're called like they're almost like a webhook though that you call, but it's super weird because it doesn't it doesn't always work through, like I use Streamlabs desktop. Other guys use OBS or something, but yeah, they're super buggy, Robodom. And it's funny because I can sit here and test them over and over again, and you guys will see them. But then when something happens, it just doesn't work, and it never works with the text to speech. It's weird. I don't know. I haven't really sat around, like I don't sit around and worry about stuff like that. So look at this file integrity tool, and then this one has we have aid on these boxes. Let's go see. Check the REL8 file integrity scan. We see aid is there, and it's weird that check that REL8. Thanks for that. That's your grep aid. It looks like aid is installed. So aid is installed. This thing just checks to see if it's there, and checks to see. Figure the tool to run automatically on the system at least weekly. Aid is installed. Say aid is installed and can be run on the system. I think that's fair. Although I think the letter of the law says that aid has to be run weekly, but we have other things for file integrity. Yeah, Robodom, it's just another way to add an input to a hash so that it makes the entropy of the hashes that are made from passwords much higher. So that's all it is. It's higher entropy. Higher entropy. That's what it is. Takes longer to there's more. There's billions and billions and maybe even trillions of more things that can be put into that, as opposed to just having the original system. Robodom, it can avoid hashing collisions, but not just that. It's one other thing that then sets off the hash of the password to be different. So it's kind of useful. All right, so must implement status checking for multi-factor authentication. I'm going to say multi-factor not used in this environment. And I was specifically told that that's the case, so that's okay. Not a finding, and on the head node, that is not a finding as well. It's capable of doing that, but it's not a finding in this case. All right, next one. Yeah, not a finding. Multi-factor. Yeah, we're not using CAC type cards in this environment. If you guys have never used a common access card, I got one of the original ones back in 2000 and it's been like 2003. I got an old Army one back when it was like brand new kind of technology to get one of those common access cards, even though I never once put it into a computer for anything. So, all right, so let's keep going. We're here. The REL8 must clear the page allocator to prevent user-free attacks. So anytime you get page poisoning, this is one of those things where, okay, let's see if it's set. We don't have, okay, hold on. Page poisoning is not set. But in our environment, we're not using page poisoning. See, so we don't see page. Oh, hold on. These are kernel options from this box. Verify that Grip2 has page poisoning enabled. Let's go look at this one. I don't know why that's so low. There's the answer right there. Okay, this is verified. So I'm going to do Control A, Control C, and then Control A, Control C, and say not a finding. And oops, not a finding. Boom. Street Track. Hey, how's it going? We are. So I've got a customer that I've been working with, and I've stripped out all of their information. So to anybody watching, this is just basically me securing 4 machines. And doesn't matter any 4 machines or who they are. We could say they're in a lab. They can say they're wherever. But the idea is that in a supercomputing cluster, or what we call a high-performance compute cluster, we tend to have CPU nodes and GPU nodes. And these ones scored about a 96, which anything over 90 is pretty good for a STIG implementation. So those ones are pretty good. And then now I'm cleaning up their login and their head node stuff so that I can send this over to them as kind of that. And then Ek Shunyam, I have a set of labs that I've been, like I've got the notes over here for STIG labs in Killer Coda. I haven't put them all together yet. So I have a fair amount of stuff to show you guys and to turn into labs. That is probably going to be 3 or 4 labs. I just don't have them up yet. So yeah, I apologize. But guys, I've been like super busy. In fact, I wanted to stream tonight and kind of just, you know, hang out and tell people about the Linux users group, but I just haven't, man, I've been super busy, and I was like, well, I'll just do this generically, and then also just kind of be able to hang out with everybody and tell you guys about the Linux group and stuff like that. So I think Robodom's sending you guys the Discord link, which is awesome. You guys are welcome to hang out down in Discord. I know a lot of you are down there. A lot of you came and hung out with us a few weekends ago for our big Linux group, you know, just have a bunch of public speakers come in. I'm trying to start up to get more of our Saturdays going. We used to always just meet every Saturday. That's how the group started. And I really want to get us back to that, where people can come in and talk and see what's going on. And you know, if people want to share their resumes, or if people want to talk about what their problems are on systems, we just kind of dig into all of it and do systems level work and talk engineering, you know. Like sometimes for people, I tell the people it's the same thing with my college students. Like we go and we talk and hang out like engineers, because maybe you break rocks for 40 hours a week, and this is the only time you get to come and hang out and talk like an engineer, listen to how engineers talk about things. So this is what we do, right? So yeah. And I know Robodom's got the links up there for the killer codas and all that kind of stuff. And again, you guys are fair, you know, it's free to go in there and do all the stuff you want. Let's go look at this next one. Must disable virtual syscalls. So I do not have that. vsyscalls equals none. Set to none or missing, this is a finding. Okay, so we're going to leave this one open as a finding. And we'll go to this one, and we're going to also leave this one open as a finding. Even though, I mean, like I don't really like that, but I mean, you know, it is what it is. I follow the letter of the law unless I have a reason because of like a customer thing to do that. Robodom, that's funny. It actually just linked. It like blocked your. Oh no, those are just up arrows. Sorry, I thought you got a bunch of asterisks over on YouTube. And I'm like, wait a minute, Robodom's a moderator on YouTube. He can do whatever he wants. So I gotta check one thing real quick too. Let me go check on the down in the YouTube, or down in the Discord rather. Okay, the bot's still working. That's good, guys. I also think Fisherman's going right now too. I think he's still streaming live too. So make sure you guys go hang out with Fisherman every now and then as well. Robodom, is he still streaming live over there? Can you give him a shout out? Maybe some people want to go check his stuff out. That would be good as well, because he's one of our regulars. He's one of our mods. Oh, he's not. He finished up. Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. All right. By the way, guys, in case anybody wonders, if you're like, oh, does everybody want to do all the security stuff? This is the like bread and butter of security stuff right here. This is like a huge part of like what government projects are. A bunch of other stuff is just figuring out and going through checklists. And if you look at this stuff and this bores the shit out of you, you might not want to go do it. And then maybe you're like, oh, No, I think I want to go do that Linux stuff instead. And I say, well, that's what I do. I do the Linux stuff, right? Like I live in this little command line here. Like that's what I do all day. But this other stuff, I have to do this other stuff because again, I have to interface with security. We do a lot of interfacing with our security teams. Okay, so now we get this next one, which is about this slab, whatever, and you have to have some kind of thing in here. If slub debug is not set to P or is missing, slub debug equals P, so we can say this is not a finding, right? So I can just, because I see it right there, so I can right click and say not a finding. I'm not even going to put a comment in on these ones because it's right there in our findings. So I'm just going to say not a finding. All right. All right. So there we go. Okay. Let's go look at what the next one is. The next one says, Rel 8 must enable the hardware random number generator entropy gatherer service. So RNGD, if you've never used that, it's kind of like Ranger. Service is not enabled and active. This is a finding. So then we go and we check, and we see the verification down here. We see it is enabled, and if service is not enabled and active, this is a finding. So we see that it's enabled in our system because this is from the check. And then it says for RHEL versions 8.4 and above with kernel FIPS enabled, this is not applicable. So look, I'm running, this cluster I'm on is 8.9. So I get to say this is not applicable because it's not applicable because we're above that version of RHEL. So I get to say not applicable. So that actually should bring the score up even higher. What are you working on, Robodom? Hold on. Primarily web dev. Yeah. But Robodom, now you got those chops under you with the Security Plus, and that shows that you know the security side of things. So that'll hopefully open some doors for you on interviews and stuff like that. Because people will say like, hey, why'd you do Security Plus? And you're like, well, I wanted to be better at my job, so I needed to see how to secure everything and how everything worked together. And I think I know that a lot better now. So, okay, let's keep going. We're just keep hammering through them. Down here, RHEL 8 must prevent files with set UID and set GID bit from being executed on a file that contains the user's home directory. So, we're going to say, for this one, home is remotely mounted. And so this is not a finding. Right? This is not important because home is remotely mounted. So this system itself does not control anything with home. It can't control home stuff because home is coming in through a different system. So that's kind of an important thing to understand. This is the same type of thing. Home is remotely mounted, so this is not a finding. And then let's go check this one. Let's go here. Not a finding. All right. Now this one says RHEL 8 must prevent special devices on file systems that use with removable media, and it says that there are no dev options set on if there's no dev options on anything with removable media, and I say this is passed and not set in any system. So whoops, Control A, Control C. This is passed and not set in any system. So this one is. This is accurate. There's no remotely configurable systems that have right here. There's nothing that's removable media that has the no dev option set. So this is passed. It's not in any system. We actually don't allow removable media on any of these devices, and I do that through a tool called USB guard. So USB guard doesn't allow things to connect in, and that's that's one of these things where. When you do this stuff, you have to look at the system holistically. It would be like if you were like, hey, Scott, you're very vulnerable in that T-shirt and shorts that you're wearing to somebody throwing a brick at your head. And I'm like, well, yeah, that's true. If I wasn't carrying my big riot shield, my riot shield stops that, right? So then, that's like a thing that like, well, they're like, well, I didn't know you had a riot shield because I was just looking at the fact that you had shorts and a T-shirt on. And I'm like, well, yeah, no, that's cool. right? You only looked at this one part, but I'm looking at the system holistically. So you got to remember that, especially these checks down here that are there. These ones that are black here, they couldn't be checked automatically. Something kept the system from being able to check them, and they're greatly dragging down our number here. So what I need to do is I need to look at the system and go, oh no, I do know that this is not a finding. I do know that this is passed, and I can go ahead and say that's not a finding. So we're on 2305. This one's 2304. This is the same thing, and I'm saying, like, I understand the differences, and I know that this is not right. So must prevent files from on remedial. Yeah, this is the same thing. This is not allowed in any system. You can't come on to any of these systems. So let's go back over here, and you guys might note I'm working between two systems, so I'm just keeping my numbers the same. So I'm on 230.309 and 230.309 on these systems. Qualified immunity is good protection. Yeah. It's the goal is to just not be able to be hit by any projectiles in general, right? It's always a good goal. Sunyam, is that a question for me? What you're covering has most overlap with which cert? This is I wouldn't really say that what I'm doing here has coverage with any cert. But the job that this most covers would be like doing any type of systems engineering inside of a U.S. government or United States, not AUS. And Root Guy with Prime, thanks for that. You could use your Prime anywhere. You chose to use it here, so I always appreciate that. It's the United States government, not the AUS, with their great breakdancers that mimic kangaroos and all that stuff. Well, where I'm going with this is, what was I going with this? This is very much systems engineering stuff here. This is not what I do daily. Most of what I do is keep systems running, guys, right? Like, I build systems, I keep systems running. That's my job. I do most of that through automation. But sometimes, when I'm building systems for people, like in this case, I have to harden the system up. So I did all the STIG automation in here, and I am going to be showing you guys that in future labs and stuff, how to build your STIGs out and how to fix your systems. And then this is the report that comes out at the end from this OpenSCAP scanner, and the the OpenSCAP scanner will do what it can, but look at these things that it couldn't do. It couldn't check these things. So now I'm going and cleaning those things up, and you might say, wait, are you doing that from memory? Well, memory a little bit, but also I have these other systems that I did in the same way that I can go look at what my justification was. So like if on 230.309 I don't remember how we did this, I can come over here to 230.309 and I can go, home is remotely mounted on these systems, because that is true on these as well. So home is remotely mounted, and then this becomes not a finding. And 230.309 on this one goes right. I'm looking at this number right here, V230.309. Home is remotely mounted on these systems, and that becomes not a finding. So again, like, I mean, some of this stuff, if this looks like extreme tedium and boredom, this is a lot of what like system security is like going through and checking things off. This is I tell you guys that there's two types of testing that there's hundreds of ways of testing, but in the when you look at types of testing pragmatically, there are functional tests and there are non-functional tests. This is one way to split tests up. And functional tests do what this is doing, which is simply checking boxes. We go and we look and we see, can we check the box that this thing exists in the state that we expect it to be? And if not, then we complain, or we figure out whatever, right? Core dumps are not, so look, this one says if core dumps are not required, disable that, and then if kernel dumps are required, document the need with the ISSO. Kernel dumps would be useful in these as they are disk stateful systems and troubleshooting will be more in depth than with the diskless nodes. I always have to spell diskless correctly. Don't want to spell that one wrong. All right, Control A, Control C. So kernel dumps would be useful. So we're going to call this not a finding because kernel dumps being on doesn't affect, like that is the desired effect of these nodes, which are disk stateful systems, and as opposed to diskless, which are what a bunch of our other nodes. These nodes over here in our environment are diskless nodes, meaning we don't really care. Like if something goes wrong, we don't care about the kernel dump. We'll just wipe the box. We'll just shut it down and turn it back on. It's this concept that you'll get into with like DevOps and SRE engineers sometimes, where we call them it's cattle not pets. Have any of you guys heard that? Go throw that in your go throw that in a browser. That'd be a good thing. Like when I tell you guys like, hey, if you really want to get into this stuff, you should go write stuff up and look stuff up and take notes. One of the things I would tell you is go look at some blog posts on the concept is cattle versus pets. And we raise cattle in you know the Western country. We raise cattle to eat them. We raise pets to like hang out and you know be your friend and hang out with your kids and that kind of stuff, right? We don't eat our pets, right? So the point is, within the server world, cattle is the idea that like if I have to take 10 servers down and bring them up as brand new nodes that are just clean, that's fine, right? So that's a concept to go read about as an engineer, because it's a commonly used term, cattle versus pets. Speaking of pets, let's go check on Robodom. How's Robodom doing? Look at that Robodom. That Ranger Dog. Not Robodom, Ranger Dog. For Robodom. There he is. There's Ranger Dog. Robodom, you've been called Ranger today. There you go. There's Ranger. Look at him. He's wait, I see a shadow down there. The wife must be down there. I see a shadow moving around. What's the wife doing down there? She's not giving him a treat, so he doesn't care. All right, good Ranger. Here's what we're gonna do, guys. Let's come back over here, and let's keep looking at this. Disable acquiring, saving, and processing core dumps. This is one of those ones, again, we have a reason for core dumps, but in this case, fix configure system to disable core dump socket. All right, core dump is disabled. We see that in this case for these, so we'll say not a finding. The findings are the way that they want it to be, so I am going to, in this case, call that not a finding. All right, DNS server. So this one's interesting. Core dump is disabled. So 2 DNS servers must be configured. So you go down in here, and then these have the ones that are in there. So what's the value of this system, if there are any that are there? And DNS, so in this case, on the login node and the head node, let's say here that for storage and is configured in just one, for just one server. This is not a finding, and the reason it's not a finding is because we are using only one DNS configuration. Whoops. That's not what I want. Damn it, that's annoying. There we go. We only have one, and that's fine. We don't need more. Executable search path with an initialization file of all local interactive rel. Users must contain paths that resolve the system default for the user's home directory. So everything needs to be in home, and their path also needs to be set to home. We're gonna say this is is verified. And we know it's verified in the environment because I checked this. So I'm just going to call this verified in the environment. I know you guys don't get to see that right now because these are from real systems, but I can tell you that the systems that were there are there. Okay, so yeah, the systems they are configured that way. All right, and look, we're almost we're at 69.02 on both of these, so the systems are getting closer and closer to the configuration standard that we need them to be at. So all of the users are configured, and we're going to say this is verified in both of the nodes. And that's verified by going and checking that they were good. So that's not a finding. Interactive home directories, yeah, this is verified because the home directories are being mounted from a remote place. So that's fine. We know that that's true. Not a finding. All right. Home directories must, a user must exist, and we're going to say home directories are remotely mounted. So that's going to be in this environment. This is fine because that's the way that home directories are set. All right. Boom. So then we come to here. Home directories are out of our control. I never run a home directory higher than 700. So this is a 600 right here for like whatever files are in there. We're going to say home directories are remotely mounted on this as well. And then that's going to be our pass on that. But also when I've checked these on the other nodes, they're validated. All directories must have a valid owner. This is passed. There's no files in the entire system that are set without an owner, and that's just true of most Unix systems. Although you could set a user, you could set a file to not have a valid user. That is true. Yeah, we have valid group owners too. That's important. Not a finding. What's this one? Separate RHEL 8 file system must be used for home. This is validated because they're in a different one. Let's go. All right, so we're gonna go here. We're gonna hit these two, and I'm gonna show you guys something that's kind of cool. You can paste the findings and replace what's, whoops. That's not what I wanted to do. As comments, right, for this one and this one. Whoops. We can set the paste text as replace, and then now both of these nodes, or both of these, you can set at the same time to not a finding if you wanted to. So we should be the same between these still. Yep. So now for 230, 331 must be provisioned with an expiration time of 72 hours or less, and this was set up on the node. So let's go look at 230, 331 on one of these. 230. 331. Temporary accounts are not in the cluster, so because there's no temporary accounts, I'm going to just toss that. So that's another place I can look to make sure that I have these the way that they should be. Temporary accounts are not in the cluster. Yep. Temporary user accounts not used. Right? Come back over here, and what's the next one? Session lock and reestablishes. So okay, look. GUI is not used. But this is something that the scripts could not check. But GUI is not used in the cluster. So this is not a finding. This one, not a finding. Look, anytime they want anything with GNOME desktop or anything, we're not using a GUI. You gotta connect in. Session control is enabled with tmux. And tmux is definitely set there on all the systems. Tmux is not used in this system. So we're going to say that tmux is out because honestly, That is just a nightmare for most users in the system. What'll happen is if you're not connected to your TMUX for a little bit, it'll just kick you out of the shell. And then when you connect back in, you'll still be in the TMUX shell, which is good. You've no-hupped your environment, and it's safe, and you don't lose things. But it's just it's a hassle. A lot of people get exceptions for it from their security. So we're just saying TMUX is not used. But if people choose to use TMUX, they can. It's on the system. We're just not there. So, all right. Go check on Ranger again. How's Ranger doing? Ranger's tired. He's had a log day of being a dog and not doing anything and not having any bills to pay and only being at 73 degrees downstairs, nice and cool. I think Phoenix got to like 107 today, but Ranger's down there chilling at 73 in front of his fireplace. So, trust me, my dog is spoiled, guys. We're not using smart cards. Smart cards are a very specific type of thing, and they are not used in this environment. So we can just go ahead and move away from that. Not a finding. All right. 107 Robodump. Yeah, well, I mean, it's cooler than it was. I mean, last year. Last year was like the hottest year ever on record here. But, I mean, we're getting into April. Typically, we have a few more monsoon seasons. I said April, August, sorry. We're in August now. What happens is we get like 1 or 2 more monsoons, and one of these monsoons, maybe late August or early September, will kind of like break summer, and then summer will be like a lot more, like it'll be gone, and then it's just chill out here until like April again, April or May. It's just like real nice. I mean, it's shorts and t-shirt weather in Phoenix. What most people deal with for winter, we don't get to deal with. We just hang out down here in shorts and a t-shirt and sandals the whole time. So we trade off, right? We trade off the good and the bad. All right. By the way, we're up to 72.01 on this. Let's go, let's pull Ranger Cam up for a minute. And I'm going to take a quick break here, hourglass. Almost at an hour too. I was going to try to knock this out in 2 hours, so we're doing pretty good. So let's say quick break and stretch. Go stretch, walk around for a bit. I'll be back. Well, Robodom, you guys get a lot more humidity there. All right, Robodom, you're in charge till I get back. All right, we're still on break, but if anybody's got anything for me, let me know. Oh, Fasticon. I am not. Man, that does not sound fun. Get the humid snows and frigid temps in January. No, 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 no. No, no, no. I've told people for a long time, if the sun is hitting me in Phoenix, I can be in shorts and a t-shirt. It does not matter what time of the year it is. If the sun is hitting me, it is warm enough for me to be in shorts and a t-shirt. And that's not to say in the early morning of like winter in Phoenix, it might not be in like the 20s or 30s. I'm just saying, like, once that sun comes up, I'm fine. Might be a little cool, but it'll get, you know, I know that it's getting warmer, so helps me out a little. Don't let people tell you it doesn't get cold in Phoenix. It's just very rare. It's very rare in like a couple of days in the year. And we do have some rain around December that can make it quite cold. But like we don't get, you know, we don't get like bundled up in long overcoat type cold, you know. I watch these shows like the Law and Order and stuff where the guys are up in New York and they're like, yeah, they're putting on like their coat over their coat type stuff. We don't do that, you know. Yeah, Fasticon in winter, I just turn my AC and heater off. I just let the house get as cold as it wants. So, all right. We've seen enough Ranger. Let's I'll stop this a little early cuz I know I'm not like winning any friends or influencing anybody with that. Let's just keep going. We don't have a GUI. Boom. In this environment, let's see, GUI is not used. Is not used in this environment. So we can take that. And let's look at this one. This is also... so this is TMUX. So TMUX is not used. Let's just go ahead and knock this one out real quick. Not a finding. Go over here. That's the GUI. Not a finding. Let's go check. GUI is not a finding. Go over here. And GUI is graphical user interface, of course. Some of you guys know that, as opposed to CLI, which is our command line. Let's give this a second here. We're going to come back over here. TMUX is not used in environment. But it is there. TMUX is there. So this actually is set, but TMUX is also not used. So I'm just gonna leave that as not a finding because they'll find that it's there and then that'll be not a finding anyways. Thank you, mouse boots from the army that come handy. Yeah, Fasticon, you know, in the infantry we were never allowed to wear those boots. I have those as well. The big thick like super like cold weather boots that can go down to like -90. But in the infantry we were never allowed to wear them because they said, well, it'll make your feet too hot. So I have never put those boots on but to test them the first time. Yeah, I've literally never worn them besides the first time I ever put them on. The big hot, because I was stationed in Colorado Springs, which a lot of people don't know. Colorado Springs is where the 10th Mountain comes out to train sometimes because it's so cold out there. Yep, infantry is the queen of battle. It's also why the sky is blue. Anybody know why the sky is blue? Go ask your chat bots and ask your Googles, why is the sky blue? And if it knows, if it's been combat infantry, it'll tell you. All right. We're not using PKI. Not used in this environment for login. So we're not using that for login in this environment. Why am I on that one still? All right, boom. And PKI. Yeah, we're not using PKI for the login, so that's fine. What's the sound of artillery? Oh, I don't know any of the artillery stuff. Although I do have some friends that were forward observers. Duplicate user IDs. This is validated. There are no duplicate user IDs. We don't allow that in my environments or anybody's environments. Right. It's kind of annoying me how much this is moving around. Like it's jumping back over to smart cards again. It's like I'm not going to go find that thing. Smart cards are not used. Although I will tell you, fun fact here in a second. Um, smart cards are not used. Temporary accounts not used. But these are things that I've typed already, and it's bugging me that they should be set next to the other ones. So that's kind of an annoyance that they don't have those near the other ones. Yeah, raining down on the enemy. You know, it's funny. Here's my funny infantry thing. I passed my expert infantryman's badge the first try at 18 years old. If you guys want to go look up a nice difficult test, that's one that is a challenge for some people, because there's two things that knock people out of that. Either they're not athletic enough to throw a hand grenade 35 meters into a 5-meter circle, or they're strong enough to do that, but they can't shift from a known point, which is like super basic trig. And people can't do both, so they get kicked out. I'd say hand grenades knock the most people out, and then shifting from a known point probably knocks the balance of them out. Most of the other things are pretty easy. There's also other things that'll knock people out, like you have to have a 270 on your PT test. This was back in 24 years ago when I got mine. And then you also have to be able to road march with like 40 pounds on your back, 12 miles in under 3 hours, which is just basically at like a light jog. And most people should be able to handle that. I was 18, so I could basically do whatever I wanted. But yeah, FastCon, yeah, huge trend of vets being hard in the IT field. Yeah, I think there's a lot of people get out and they're like, this is a little easier than going out and being shot at. So, doing all that kind of stuff, kicking indoors, doing all that stuff. So, yeah, Robodom, don't feel bad. I wouldn't either. Not anymore. When I was in really good shape, but that was a long time ago. Rel 8 doesn't have, so this is validated. All accounts are necessary. And that's true here. All accounts are necessary. Not a finding. Right? Not a finding. Alright. Come over here. No unnecessary account. Okay, so local interactive account. So UMask is set correctly. That's fine. We'll call that good. This is just, so a UMask for all local interactive users is 077. Just means that users' permissions on their files are set correctly as they come into the system. So that's good. Not a finding. And then default permissions for logon and logon shells. Yep, so UMask is set correctly for those. Let's see what this next one is. Cron logging must be implemented. Alright, cron logging is turned on. We'll check that here in a second. Alright, cron logging must be implemented. Oh, you know what? Funny enough, I don't actually know how logs work inside. I didn't look at how the logs work inside of this, but logging, I'm just going to say logging functions are enabled and cluster. Because the cluster, what the heck just happened there? Logging functions are enabled and cluster. Okay. Where the hell did that other one go? Okay. I don't know where that other one went. 2046. Okay. Fail lock file. Let's generate an audit record. So for this one, I don't know. 230466. I don't know what we did with this one. 230466. This one may still be open on all these. 30466. Still enabled. Alright, so this one's going to be set to open. I'm not going to be able to fix that one now, especially since I'm not in the cluster right now. So you guys got to remember, I'm going back and doing my homework. Like, I'm doing my report on things I did. I cleaned these things up. Yeah. Yeah, ex-Shunyam, military does have good camaraderie. Private sector can learn that. Leave no man behind. Sure. It's all true. The closest thing I've found to like military camaraderie outside of the military has been like I train a sport called Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I've done that for 21 years now, and that's probably about the closest one. I get a lot of military and fire and cops and all those kind of guys, and it's pretty good, like kind of like a brotherhood. A lot of guys in there that are, and there's also just civilian guys who just happen to be, you know, pretty good friends from having done. I mean, doctors and other people as well, but most people that have been military will tell you like that's the closest thing to it. Just your buddies that, and I always tell you guys too, it's a great therapy because you know it's hard to worry about anything else when your friends are trying to choke you to death. So it's one of the fun things about that sport. We joke around about it. We choke people so we don't choke people, right? Must enable the process of auditing prior to a start date. So Grub doesn't have. This one was not tested. I don't think I don't have an example. I thought I might have grabbed that at one point, but I'm gonna go ahead and leave this open for now on both of these because I'm not 100% sure on that one. All right, so backlog. This is again same type of thing. Leave it open because I don't know the state of it, so I can't report it if I don't know the state of it. So that's kind of, there you go. All right, it's the same thing with this audit. The other ones, this wasn't as big a deal because we were allowed to say that we didn't need audit, but in this cluster logging, well, I can't say that either because those are not. I'll leave those open for now. Okay. Encrypt transfer of audit records. I can't say that that's not. Actually, I need to go look at my Excel. Hold on. I've got an Excel spreadsheet about these systems and what I'm allowed to skip. Let me go look. Need a second here, guys. I'm wandering around in my STIG viewer. Hold on. I've got a set of things that I can skip. So let me go look at the ones that I can skip. So 230, 329. So 230, 339, 329. 230. I wonder if I can just. I don't think I can search this. Nope. That makes it less useful. 230. Nope. Let's order them by this for a second. 230, 329. Oh yeah, okay, that's not applicable on either of these. Okay, fair enough. 230. 230. 329. Yeah, also not applicable. Okay, let's go look for, hold on, 338 is also not applicable. 338 not applicable. And then, okay, so smart cards, overriding lock display. So 51 and 54. 51 and 54 are not findings, they're not applicable. So 51 and 54, not findings, not applicable. 493 and 506 are not. So I gotta go look for those. 493. 493 is not applicable. And 493 down here, not applicable. Those deal with cameras. Those aren't going to ever be attached. And then 506 wireless network adapters, not applicable because there are no wireless adapters on these systems, nor will there will none ever be allowed. So those will be not applicable as well. We can get those out of the way. Excuse me. So 530 will also be not a finding. Good. 530 over here will be or not applicable. Let's keep going. That was 530. So 44,519. So 44,519 is not applicable. So we got that. 44,519 not applicable. And then 536, 538, 539. 536, 538. Not applicable. And 539 not applicable. So we can go do that here. 536. Not applicable. You can also do this. So 538 and 539, you can highlight them both and say not applicable as well. And I'm going off another spreadsheet over here, guys. I just can't show it to you. 538, and then 50, 316. So 50, 316 is not applicable. Oh, man. And 316, and then 517, 14, 15, and 16 are not applicable as well. Okay. Let's go back over here, and then we'll do that same thing. So 539. Where was I at on this one? I just finished 44539. So then 250316. 250316. Not applicable. Then 14, 15, and 16. So 14, 15, 16. Not applicable. So that bumps our numbers up a little higher. All right. We'll go back here. I'm set these back to opens. Whoops, I'm going to turn them the other way. So opens will be at the top, right? Excuse me. Same thing here. Opens will be at the top. Yep. We'll come down to here. All right, and we just got to keep working through them, guys. This is life for us, right? Like for people that are like, oh, this sounds like real fun. I want to do security. Well, this is security for us. Let me see here. I have a whole bunch of these. I have a whole bunch of these other ones that I get to knock out too. But I will I'll hit those ones here in a second. We get past some of this other stuff. All right, let's keep going. Yeah, thanks for the bless you, Robodom. Yeah, So lots going on here. All right. I didn't miss any more ranger checks, did I? Just the one. Look, ranger hasn't really moved much. Just kind of laying around downstairs. So 230, 491. Processor-based vulnerabilities. And this is PTI on. This is gonna be. Let's go look at this one. Page table isolation. Pretty sure that I am allowed one around that. Let me go look at this. We'll get rid of this other one real quick. All right. 230, 491. Bypass. Yeah, so kernel address space layout randomization is wonderful and fine. It's just one of those things. This is one of these that these affect the speed of not GPFS, big high performance compute systems. So we almost always get an exception for them. But I'm looking through the docs over here, and I don't see that we have. Let me look for 490. I don't see an exception for 491. So I'm gonna leave these open, although I think that, you know, it's one of these things that really isn't that big of a deal. I think we have an exception on here. Let me go look here for firewalls. Okay, so we are using Shorewall. Firewall is used in cluster, right? So I'm actually going to Control A and Control C this, and then I'm going to go over here and do the same thing here. And this thing wants you to have a firewall of some type on, but this is not a finding because we use the Shorewall firewall, right? So not a finding. And then I'm going to come down here. I'm going to do something you guys haven't seen me do before, but I'm going to do firewall here. And I want to see any of these ones where it says a firewall must be deployed. Shorewall firewall is being used. This one, firewall D must be active. Shorewall firewall is being used. Not a finding. Boom. Gonna come over here, do the same thing. Firewall. Boom. And then here, not a finding because Shorewall firewall is in use in the cluster. And by the way, guys, I found out while I was doing this that Shorewall works just fine as a firewall. It's actually pretty cool because it's run by the Bright cluster. So look, and then we can remove all filters, and then we can go back to just our STIGs, and this will we could leave something like that open. It doesn't matter. There you go. All right. So there's our STIGs. Come back here, and I'll clear this filter. Go back to my STIGs. Open something like that and then go STIGs. There we go. Boom. So 77.2, 77.5. They're slightly off, but we'll get them back organized here in a little bit. All right. File system auto mounter is disabled. This is disabled. We don't have auto mounter running. You don't want auto mounter running in any kind of cluster. You don't want things to automatically be changing the way that things behave, because that. It's one of those things where you can have what we call transient problems that flap up and down, they don't stay up and they don't stay down, and then you're trying to chase log files for things that have changed. So we never allow, I will allow failover of a failure system, but I will never allow failback automatically. You guys know what the difference between failover and, so failover is like a node starts to die, so the other node does a stoneth, which is shoot the other node in the head, takes the node down via power, and takes all of its resources, right? I will never allow that other node to come back up and take those resources back. And you say, well, why? That sounds like you're being too in control of your environment. Let the system do its stuff. Well, what if that node's not really checked out and in a good state yet? And in 5 minutes, it's going to get to, its fans are off and it's about to get to a high load state again and go down again. I don't want my cluster failing like that, especially back-end storage. I do a lot of big data storage on top of Lustre and GPFS, and I don't want that to happen. I don't want my system failing back and forth like that. So a human has to put the system back into like a working type state, if that makes sense. Make sure you're not. Yeah, Robodom, because some issues are transient. Some issues, I've told you guys this before. Like this is a good. If you never worked in a data center, this is a good thought exercise. Why does a system, when like if you've turned on a server before, or if you've ever turned on a machine, why does the fan always come up high when the system first turns on? Does anybody know why that is? Anybody know why, like in a server hardware environment, the fans always come up and sound like jets to start, and then after a while they step down to a normal speed? Does anybody know why that is? I'll let you guys think about that. Part of it's an initialization test, sure. There's another part to it. There's another reason why it talked. Yeah, Robnov, I've probably talked about it on stream 3 or 4 times over the years. It is because the counters are in the BIOS, and the counters start out at 0. And what if that box just went down? The only safe way that a server can come up is with the fans all the way up. That's the only safe way a server can come up. The fans have to be all the way up, then it gets its counter information, then it sees that it's not at a high CPU temperature. It didn't shut down before, because again, that gets wiped every time it reboots, and then it can step down to a normal operating temperature. But because it doesn't know the state it is as it first comes up, the only safe way for a server to start is all the way open on its fans. It's true. I mean, that's still true today. So, not safe way like the store. It's the only safe way. No, the calibration's different. A fan might test and step through different things for some reason after, but when a server first comes up, it doesn't have any temperature monitoring data points yet that are accurate, that's for sure. It doesn't know if it just turned off 10 minutes ago or 3 days ago. And if it just turned off 30 seconds ago and it had really, really high heat, before that fan even has time to get the counters down on the board, or before, not even the fan, but before the counters start getting to the board, the chip can already be damaged from high heat. So the only way it's safe to come up is with the fans on high. That's why all the server fans do that. In case you guys didn't know that, and then they step down after. Alright, let's keep going. We're going to get these systems all the way up. Block unauthorized peripherals. Yep, USB guard. Is set. So, we got that. Not a finding. Not a finding. Oh man, I gotta sneeze again. Alright. Debug shell system D. Has to be... If it's loaded and not masked, it's a finding. Alright, we're gonna go check this against one of the other nodes. So 230, 532. 230, 532. Service is masked. So I set the service to be masked in the environment. Boom. And you might say, well, how do you know on these nodes? Well, because I built them with the same scripts. I wrote the configuration scripts that caused all this to be in the state that it is. So I'm the one that wrote it all. The file integrity tool. So this is another one of these aid ones. So I'm gonna look at 551. So maybe I do have aid configured here. 551. Also, this music is something I bought off of Humble Bundle a long while back, but it's funny, this is the same music that's used in a game called Mechabellum, which I enjoy Mechabellum quite a bit. If you guys haven't played it, it's a pretty fun little time waster. It's a little auto battler. You set up your guys and you let them fight, and it's a pretty fun little game. All right, what do we got here? Rel8 must be prohibit password reuse for a minimum of 5 generations. Now this one wasn't checked, but I'm going to go check over here. What's that? It's oh, what the hell am I clicked on here? 5 generations. 5 generations. Let's go look at this one. This is 251717. 251. Oh, we're just gonna set these ones by vuln ID. 251757. 757. Oh shit, this one's. Does this one not exist on this one? 251. Oh, 717. That's my bad. Ah, this is open on all these ones as well. Alright. Apparently I never fixed that one. Alright. File integrity chest 230552. A checking is configured as above. So I'm using my other notes for some of these. And then these are generic names that I gave these. Again, I told you guys I can't show you the real info, but I gave these generic names so they're not real IP addresses or real names of the servers. Let's see, where are we at? Ah, GUI is not in use. So let's do something here. We're gonna hit Control A, Control C. We're gonna say not a finding. We're gonna go to this one and we're gonna say not a finding. Oops. And then one of the things we got to do here then is let's just go to a filter and say graphical. And all of these, let's go here and also say graphical. We're speeding ourselves up a little bit as we get into doing this, right? And we're gonna go look at all these and we're gonna say, okay, this is in, nope, that's different. That's lexicographically. We don't want that. We don't want that. But graphical user interface, nope, that's wrong too. Those are all different. All right. So in the graphic here and here, we can say we're going to paste as a comment and replace the GUI is not in use. And then for these two, we're going to say not a finding. That's kind of didn't get me nearly as much as I had hoped. Graphical display manager, paste as comments, replace the comments, and then say these are not a finding. That did not help me nearly as much as I had hoped it would. But let's go over here and say graphical. Let's go up here. This one, we're going to steal this word. Lexicographically. And then we'll come over here and we'll say, what are these? 2, 4, 5, 5, 1, 2, 3, 2, 4, 5, 5, 1. Properly set, set correctly, properly set, values properly set. So on 4 through 317, so this one through this one, we can say replace properly set, and then those are not a finding. And this is the same thing with these. The replace properly set, and these are not a finding because we just found those all down there. Alright, remove the filters, remove the filters, remove the filters, because this is the one that we're kind of using to do our homework off of. Let's get our STIGs. We're at 80. We're trying to get these over 90. We're trying to do it the right way, right? We're not cheating at all. We're going through and actually looking at you know, where the configurations are at and where we can validate that things are correct to get these systems up to a high enough score to be able to pass what the customer wants. I have a list. I was showing you. I can't show you guys what the list is, but I have things that are exceptions that do not need to be there or are not required. Yeah. So look, I know that they're not in promiscuous mode because I validated that. Not this is validated. Right. I can validate that they're not in promiscuous mode. Promiscuous mode just means that you listen to any IP address on the network. It's something that people do as a precursor for scanning networks. Right, put our system. There's two things you need to do in a modern network for promiscuous mode to work. If you guys aren't network engineers, you have to do ARP poisoning to cause the switch to flood, and then you have to go in promiscuous mode and listen to all traffic. Because otherwise, if you listen to all traffic, you don't really get any other traffic, because once the switch knows where all the MACs are, it doesn't send things out all ports. It doesn't send traffic to you that shouldn't be seen. The only thing that you would actually get would be broadcast messages at like the MAC layer. Like you would get broadcasts, you would see devices trying to figure out who they were through like DHCP and BootP protocol, and you would see some of that stuff. But for the most part, unless ARP poisoning has happened against a device, modern networks don't really, this promiscuous interface wouldn't really matter that much, right? It would be more useful out in like a wireless network because everybody sees all the frames there. All right, so let's keep going. We're in it. We're almost done. I mean, I just want to power these out and get these done. We have firmware UEFI. We are not running UEFI. So I'm just going to say UEFI is not used in this cluster. So this guy doesn't have it. Not a finding, and UEFI is not a finding. We're not using it. That is not. I'm a 24522. Let's see what I did on that one here. 24452. It's down here. Not applicable. This is not applicable. There's very few that are not applicable, but this one's not applicable. Boom. All right. Okay, so we do not allow GSSA PI. Yeah, Robedom, you can't, I mean, like, you gotta remember, the Sec Plus, that's like the start that tells you all these things to go learn more about and gives you like a good firm understanding. Like if somebody starts talking about PKI, you can go and read and understand more for like the context of that exact project you're doing and that kind of stuff. Yeah, so like, I mean, you are, with any of the certs, you now have the primary body of knowledge, right? That BOK. You've got the body of knowledge around the system, and now you can start to, learn more around the things that actually affect you directly. And that's what any certification should do, is it should get you started on the path, right? So yeah, you should feel a lot more confident talking to people in the security sense, but also know that, like, yeah, there are levels to this, and you will not probably dig in on a lot of the stuff that I do unless you go and have like a whole career in like deep system Linux, building on hardware and high performance compute across a bunch of different clusters. Like, those are the things that I do. But also, Robodom, I can't even build a web page. So like, I mean, like I mean, can I build a basic HTML page? Sure, but I can't do React or any of that stuff. I don't know any of that stuff, right? So like the nuance you understand is different because it's in your field, right? And that's how all this stuff is, right? So I'm letting you guys see a little bit of like kind of how this stuff works. So let's go look. So 244.258. This is 244. Is it 244.258? Yeah, 244.528. That's my bad. 244.528. I can say this is set properly because, again, same systems, same setup. Not a finding. Not a finding. Right. Boot EFI. Again, we're not using that, so we're not using the boot EFI. So what was that 530? I think it was. So I'm gonna, this one is, these are not stateless, these two. I'm gonna say boot EFI is controlled by the Bright system. Not a finding. Not a finding. Alright. Slash home is remotely mounted. No local home directory. That's fine. So there's no local home directory, so those are set as they happen to be set in the system. And I like to run home directories as 700. That's what Red Hat does. That's what I tend to do. This is the same thing. Not a finding. Same. All right. Yeah, 777 on anything. Let's go down here. MailX is not used. Not used in this system. So if, I mean, some of these they say like install MailX, and you're like, oh hell no, I'm not installing MailX or whatever. Like obviously, a STIG can't tell you to do something that the system's not going to do. So we can say not a finding for those ones, right? GPG keys are good, so validated in the system. All repos local. So all the repos are local in this system. Local, L-O-C-A-L. And the reason that is because we don't have any connections out, right? We have to do, everything is completely self-contained. Greens are winning. That's the goal. The goal is to get this number as close to 90 or above 90 as possible, without cheating, because they're going to scan these again, but the scans are going to then find the same things that couldn't be checked, and then they're going to go look at it and go, well, this scan only says it's at like 60 something, but it's because there's things that have to be manually checked. And then they can say, well, Scott manually checked them, and if I want to go check it again, I can. Or we can just trust that these three systems, or these four, this cluster is 60 nodes. It's a pretty beefy cluster, but it's only 60 nodes, so it's kind of like a small little, they're 4 half racks of nodes, but it's got quite a bit of power for what it is. It would probably blow out, over half the colleges in the US high performance compute systems, even though we could have put it in 2 racks if we wanted to. We put it across 4 racks for power reasons, because when this thing spins up, it sucks power. It's a power mod. I don't want to be quoted on it, but I want to say it's somewhere in like the 700 kilowatt hours range, which is pretty freaking beefy for, yeah, it's basically a glorified room heater, because I remember I was working behind the racks about a month ago in this system, and I remember when they were doing they did some stress testing and load testing on the system, and it was massively hot behind there. But then when I was working in front of the system, the raised up flooring, if you guys have never worked in raised flooring, you get a lot of the cooling coming up from underneath. It was like kind of freezing my shoes and my toe. It wasn't quite freezing, but it was getting cool, like I was sitting in a freezer room. Yeah, in front was very chilly for sure. All right, let's clean the last of these up, guys. We're down to the last few here. And fail lock, I need to go check. So 244 533, 244 533. It is set correctly. So again, I told you guys I built these with the same scripts. I wrote them, and so I know that it's set the same on these ones as well. So boom, not a finding. Boom, not a finding. The same thing here. 534 pass off. Boom. Set correctly. Oh, that's my chat behind there. This is what I was that's what's using my closed captioning. First time all night I've misclicked that. All right, set correctly. Boom. Not a finding. Boom. Not a finding. All right, getting close. All right, 543. All right, that's set correctly. Okay. FA policy module must be enabled. Now this one is, I'm interested in this one because I don't remember doing this. Hey Sid Heresy, how's it going? How are you guys doing that over there? How's everything going? We are working through some security stuff. I can't show you guys the actual client information, but what I can show you, this is what's called STIGS, Secure Technical Implementation Guidelines. And we are, so I do a lot of systems administration and engineering and building of big systems. And this is kind of like my end of day report. This is kind of like you know, Sid, you go out and you do, I know you go out and you do your, like, let's say you do all your audio work for somebody. And then maybe, like, let's say at the end of a day, you might do like a write-up of like all the things that you did for the day and maybe all the little troubleshooting stuff. And maybe you just write it up for yourself, right? That's kind of what STIGs are like. Like, STIGs are these secure technical implementation guidelines for servers, but they're just a little more, they've got kind of like this scorecard that you give these servers. And when I'm all done building servers, I go in and I build out their STIGs to a certain rule. Like, we try to get over 90%. And then over here is like all the things that we've done to fix these servers. So I'm basically doing like my end of day report. Yeah, I'm documenting it and giving it to them. Now, is their security team going to run the same scans and verify the things that I say? Yeah, they pretty much are. But they will also go and look at this, and as I started this today, I was showing the guys that I had like a few hundred of these that they're called over here like not a finding. But they're called not a finding because the scanner couldn't find it. So in this case, this is RHEL, which is Red Hat Enterprise Linux for people that don't do Linux. 8, we're up on RHEL 9 currently, but RHEL 8 is for this system. There's this tool called FA Policy Module. And there's some stuff about why you want it set away or not. And then down here, it's like, well, you have to have it running. If it's not enabled and running, this is a finding. If it's a finding, it counts against our score. If we can say for some reason that it's not a finding, then it's not against our score. So FA policy, Damon, I'm pretty sure this is one that I left open. So 244545 is our map. I come back over here and I say, okay, on this node that I had originally done this 244544, it says that, oh wait, which one was that? 244545. 545. So this one. This one is so FA policy D service. It's interesting. Yeah, it's in permissive mode until a whitelist can be built out. So I'm going to say that that's true over here as well. So I can put those in my comments, and then I can say this is not a finding because it is on, but it's not doing anything in the system yet, right? And a lot of this stuff I tell you guys, like, sometimes you come and do this stuff and you're like, this is boring. But this is a lot of the security side. When I interface with security teams, this is the kind of thing that I have to give them. This is the way I communicate over to security. I like to just live. If you give me my druthers, I'm here all day doing Linux stuff, right? Like this is my life. Screen dash ls. Whoops. Get out of there. Screen dash ls, and I see my attached screen. This is my work one, and then this is like one of my streaming ones here, right? So then I say screen dash r, and I connect over here, and then now for you guys that have been around, you know, now I'm in my home lab, and I can do whatever happy things I want across all these different systems, doing whatever little stuff we were doing over the different days that, you know, we've worked on this stuff. I need to rebuild and keep working in my werewolf environment. That's a big cluster tool manager that I use a lot. But you guys have been, some of you guys have been around enough to know that I work down in Linux quite a bit. But then tonight we're just doing STIGS and STIGS scoring, so we're cleaning stuff up. The FA policy is in enforcement mode. Ours is not in enforcement mode yet, so I'm going to leave this open for now on both of these nodes. We can't turn that on to enforcing mode just yet. Rel is using the USB guard. That means you can't plug stuff in. So USB guard is in effect, and I know that because I couldn't connect anything to these damn things when I was out there. This is my reporting from, I was working in a SCIF, which is a SCIF, secure compartmentalized information facility. It's like a government facility. I was working out at one of the big cyber, I guess you would call them like the big, some people would call them the industrial war complex, but no, I'm just kidding. What I would call them would be like some of the big like defense contractors. I've been working at some of those lately. All right, operating system must use this. We are not installing AV in the cluster. The cluster is not going to employ antivirus. It is NVIDIA's Bright cluster. It has its own cybersecurity stuff involved in it. We're not going to do a specific tool like McAfee. That doesn't make any sense. I always hated those. I think those are the silliest. We are running SE Linux. So SE Linux is set. SE Linux is in a targeted. Wait, let's see. Enable but permissive mode. So this is checking for security context types. Security contexts are these additional labels that are added if you're using SE Linux as a security tool. We're doing it in permissive mode, so this is not as big a deal. But if you were using like a targeted mode for SE Linux and this was not correct, it would kind of break everything. So I'm just going to note for now that we're using SE Linux, and that's fine. File integrity. So we have aid on there. I need to actually go back and clean up some of these other aid ones here in a second. But let's come over here and go. Let's actually do that real quick. We'll filter our panel. We'll say aid. And here's all the aid tools. And we come over here and we're going to filter these ones down by aid. A-I-D-E, right? And then we're going to come here and we're going to do the same thing. Filter down by aid, right? And then now over here, they must have this security function tool. And I can come here and I can compare. The system is air gapped and will receive updates based on patching cycles. So patches. That's a different one than we have on top. 251710 here. 8 is installed on the system. Okay. Boom. 8 is installed. And 8 is installed. Remove all filters. Remove all filters. And just for now, remove all filters. We'll go back to STIGS. He's still got a 96%. These ones are getting close. They're at 85.15, 85.79. There's a slight difference. So we got 2 left of these that we got to clean up. Okay, this is correct. This is correctly installed. So sudoers is a way that you become root, right? Sudoers is a way that you, well, sudoers is the way that you give anybody. It's funny all the things it's trying to say instead of sudoers. But this is a file in Linux that we can use to give permissions to other people without giving them root. Don't want to just give people root. That's one of the worst things you could do as systems administrator. So we can give them, and it must have the default include directory, which is the etc sudoers.d, and we're just going to say this has passed. I know it's passed because I've verified that before. So not a finding. And then the head node here, boom, has passed. Not a finding. Boom. And how's it going, Johnny Man and Enchanting Wolf? Hopefully this stuff's useful to you guys. This is, again, this is the most, this is not the most exciting stuff that I do. But this is kind of my, cleanup at the end of the day. I put it off most of the day. But I want to get this over for the customer and get this out of the way for them. So, yeah, and I have the notes I was showing you guys earlier. I have the notes to turn these into labs for you guys over on Killer Coda. So you're going to be able to harden a 2004 box, which is the default lab, and how the scanners work and all that stuff. I just haven't had time to squeeze this down and turn it into a lab. Probably maybe this weekend we could do it. Maybe I'll do it as part of our Linux meetup, because I haven't shown you guys in a while, but we do, we got a Linux group, right? You guys are allowed to go hang out down there. It's free. It's a bunch of engineers saying hi to each other and talking about stuff. But we have meetings on Saturdays typically. And our meeting this Saturday is going to be a meet and greet, talk about the industry, talk about topics or guest speakers who might want to show up, and then hang out and talk shop. That's what we do pretty much, and just kind of sit around and work on stuff. Yeah. I like hanging out with Sid in a stream sometimes, just hanging out there. Dropped out of the industry in 2014 to focus on fun Linux. Yeah, Enchanted Wolf, that's actually, it's funny you say that. That's one of our stated goals of the group, is to get people from doing this as a hobbyist and turn it into a career. But it sounds like you've done it for a long time, so that's kind of fun too. My background, if anybody cares, is I've been doing Linux for about 21 years. I've been teaching it at the college level for 16 years. I got a whole bunch of stuff that people can check if they want to see any of my certs or any of those kind of things. I got a whole bunch of stuff on that. But mainly one of the reasons I like this so much as a tool is because I think you can get into this without, like, if you, I don't want to say like you only need common sense, but what I would say is, like, I don't think you need college to get into Linux. Like, I only had one class of Linux in college. I'm a networking, my undergrad's in networking. And I had like one class in Linux, and then I, after a while, realized that networking was super easy. And when I say that, I mean networking just worked for me. So I wanted something more challenging, and Linux has been much more of a challenging and rewarding career for me. In that, like, I build high performance compute clusters, and I work on big storage, and I do security, and I do all these things, but it all comes from a base of doing Linux. And that's why I try to tell you guys, like, a lot of the stuff you can do and branch off to comes from Linux, and by an extension of that, the open source community, that you can do all this stuff. Yeah. Yep. So let's do this last one, non-privileged use. So let's go look at, so we're going back and forth between two nodes that are already done and these two nodes that I was cleaning up to get ready. So let's look at, so for this one, it's 254520. So 254. 254, this would be one of the ones at the end. 254520. And SE Linux is set in permissive mode for HPC operations, and that's going to be the same thing here and the same thing here. Okay, so we're going to say not a finding and not a finding. All right, so now these open ones, I got to go figure out if they're valid open or not. And I guess maybe the easiest way to do this will be start at the bottom one. So 25171. Rel 8 must be configured in system auth to prohibit password reuse for a minimum of 5 generations. I'm pretty sure from looking at this other one that is also one of our open ones. So I'm going to switch this back. Whoops. And go way up here. Whoops, that's the wrong way. Here. And yep, that's one of our open ones. And then 25716 is also one of our open ones. Let's see, what's the easiest way to do this? let's do it this way. We'll find them here. So 244. Yep. And then we'll go check them here against this. That's probably the easiest way to do this. So let's do them numerically this way. We'll go top small and then bottom large. And this one's gonna be 244, so it's gonna be way at the bottom. 244. 546. 546. Alright, so we're going to say the system is configured in permissive mode until a whitelist can be built to correctly avoid system lockout. Fair enough. I'm going to say that's also true here, and that's also in line with the system should be... Yeah, we're not going to turn on a denial and break the system to start, but we also don't have to take a hit when it could be configured right now. You don't always have to do that. Picked up Linux on my own with no college education, became obsessed with C and source code. Nice enchanting wolf. Are you still working in that space at all? I mean, you said you dropped out of it to do it for fun, but there's a lot of other things. This is what I tell people all the time about this is that, like, if you look at music, like piano is like the base tool that a lot of people go back to because you could just piddle around and play on your piano and your soundboard and stuff. But piano is like just a lot of times a big part of it. And then you can move off to all your other things you want to do. And I feel the same way about Linux. Like, Linux is your piano. It's the place that you can then jump off and build all these other things. You consult for startups. Nice. Nice. Sounds like you've been doing it for long enough to make it useful, so that's always good. Okay, so here's one that I do not have on these nodes configured for separate file systems for var time. Let me go check. Yeah, I don't get these on these nodes, so that's unfortunate. I don't get to knock any of these off. GSS proxy package. Let's go look at that one. But I can't take any of those really easy ones, which are like home directories not being set right, because these are physical boxes. They're not. If they were stateless ephemeral nodes, I could just drop them and go back up. Embed Linux and IoT. Nice. Are you using any of the cloud vendors for that? Are you doing anything with like AWS Greengrass or anything? Helping new users. Nice. That's pretty good. Pretty good if you got like contracts doing that and stuff. That's good. When I used to work, when I used to do systems work for people on my own back in the early 2000s, because I ran my own business when I was younger. My favorite thing was when I had like contracts where I could just, have a certain amount of hours with people, and it works pretty good. So 230559. GFS, yeah, this is true. GSS proxy is required for NFS to work, so you can't remove it. So we need to have that on the system. So this is not a finding on the system. GSS proxy is required for NFS to work, so it has to be there. If you take GSS proxy out of your system, it'll rip NFS tools out with it as well, so that's not good. I don't get any of those cheap ones. Ptrace. Let's go look at this 546. 546. I left that one open on this one as well. Okay. Let's go 30519. Yeah, I can't do any of those. ProLUG audit with the no exec. Yep. Can't take any of those. None of those can be easily done. Damn it. These are all ones that I would really like to just be able to close, but I can't because they're... let's go 230, 491, 30, 491, and 230, 491. I want to say this one was also still open. Ah. Grub's not set on these systems. So, grub is not used on these systems, that's true. These are stateful nodes, though. Stateful. I can still get that one out of the way, I think. Because they don't boot to that. That's like a tool that utilizes that, but that's not something. All right. Disable management of the crony daemon. We don't need to worry. What was that number? 230-486. 230-486. I'm pretty sure I have an exception for that. Yep. I don't know what that word means, but I'm going to take it. Not a finding. And not a finding. Boom. Alright. So this is the same thing. Crony daemon is not running in the environment. Yep. We are not going to be using anything like this. So the crony is going to be off, so that's 484. And this is the same. This is all the same right here for these, so good. I don't have to worry about that. Boom. Boom. There we go. Yeah, no, crony's important, but we're in a different environment, and the bright cluster that we're using is going to be managing all that. Yeah, and yeah, crony has kind of supplanted a lot of NTP type processes, so you don't need to run both of them anymore. Let's keep going. So again, all of that crap. Let's go look at this 23479, which is we got to offload the different system stuff. So I don't remember what we did over here. 234. 489, 479, 479. I said bright cluster is managing logs, which is accurate, so. And it is managing the logs, so we're going to say that's fine. All right. A little bigger, and then all that crap. So 476. 476 and 476. We're just saying it's set correctly. 476 set correctly. Not a finding. Not a finding. All right. Then let's keep going up. So, interesting, 234.81, 234.81. I think that my answer for this one is also going to be logging as handled by the cluster, but let's see. 481. Bright is handling the logging in the cluster. Yep. That sounds like something I would say. Whoops. Hold on. Control C. Don't want to put the wrong one, right? Because I don't want to give bad information. The same thing here. Bright's handling the clustering in the logs. All right. So without, so 469 and 469 and 469. And this. I can't say that on these because these are not stateless. Let's go look at 468. What is 468 saying? And this one, I think this one over here. Oh, I left this open. All right. Yeah, because this is just not. There's no way I can close that. All right. 466. 466. It's also open, so there's nothing I can do about that one. 387. And what is this? 230, 381. Let's go look at 87. Why is this 87 missing? That must be one that I already closed. Oh. This one can also be closed. Not a finding. Ah, now they're the same. I was wondering which one was different between them. Now we found it. Okay. Date and time of less successful. Okay, so well that's actually nice because I'm pretty sure I can close this. I'm pretty sure. So 230, 381. 230, 381 should be right up here somewhere. Nope, I left that one open as well. Shit, can't get rid of that one. 373. 373. That one's open as well. Alright, I didn't have anything to close that with. This one we already know we're wrong on, or we can't fix. 60-day minimum lifetime. Yeah, I left those all open as well. Shoot. Let's go to 345. What's 345? Ah, so we are on a newer version. This is one of the reasons I'm using my old findings is if you're on Rel 8.2 or newer, this is not applicable. Oh, it applies to Rel 8.2 or newer, but then if you check it, it's good. Alright. So I can say not applicable and not applicable. It gets us closer. We're almost to the number we need. We need to be over 90. Johnny Man, no. I'm just cleaning up my notes for the day. You guys got to remember I'm salaried, so I just kind of work. But, you know, I get to hang out during the day and nobody really bugs me a lot, so I don't mind working a little late. I'm going to pull up Ranger Cam for a second. I'm going to take a real quick break. I'll be right back. Look at Ranger down there. Ranger looks like he worked hard all day, but he has not worked hard all day, I assure you. He is being lazy. Go get some water. Alright, I'll be back, guys. Robodom's in charge till I get back. Robodom's got it at 73 downstairs when it's 107 outside in Phoenix, so you guys can hang out. Yeah, what's Ranger doing? Alright, I will be right back. All right, I'm back, guys. Yeah, Ranger's working super hard down there. Look at him. Ranger's doing what Rangers do. All right. Move this over here. We're still on break. Let's move this out of the way over here while break continues. But break continues while I sit here and keep working on stuff. Where was I at? I was on... I think these 230469, 230469, where the hell is that? Alright, I think these ones I actually had an answer for. So 2304, that's way up here. 469. Can't use that one for those. Okay. Alright, 68. 68. I did leave those ones. Okay. So I jumped down too far. Those ones are all done. Let's see about this one. 2304. No, we're going this way, that way. 230466. Oh, I think it's too late in the night, guys. I think I'm losing it. I can't use different temp. Separate auto. 230-294. 230-294. 294. See what I put for my answer for this one. 294. Nope. I can't use that one because I don't have 30294. I have varlog on it. The heck? I'm going to say logging managed by Bright Cluster. I think that's fair enough. Because this is checking that the varlog audit is there, and that's there. So, not a finding. All right, we're getting close. Yeah, we're trying to get to 90 Robodom, and then I can get to basically go to sleep. Can't use varlog. Can't use var. Virtual syscalls. So, grub is not used in this. But vsyscall, so I'm not going to be able to do that one. Reauthenticate. $230-272. This should be... I don't know why this isn't passed. This passes a manual check in our environment because I happen to know that that's set correctly in etcsudoers.d. So 230, 272, I know that that's a manual pass in our environment. So there are certain things in this environment that don't show up right no matter what. This is also a manual check that works, so we have to have a DoD banner set. So I know that the DoD banner is set because I did that. And if you guys have never seen a DoD banner, you can Google. Check this out. If you guys ever need to set a DoD banner, you can go get the DoD warning banner anytime you want, anywhere out. I mean, they have them everywhere, but the DoD managed banner for these is this right here. This is it. If you guys have ever been in a government system of any type, you've seen this. It's right here. But it doesn't always show up right. Oh, here's Ranger check. You guys want to see how Ranger's doing? There's Ranger right there. That's my dog. He's downstairs. It's nice and cool for him. But yeah, if you've ever been in a government system, guys, you've read this thing before. So there's your Ranger check. There's Ranger. He's not moving much because, well, he's a lazy old dog. He's almost 13 years old, and that's the life he's chosen for himself. All right, my break's over. We're working through break anyways. All right. Must access methods to be monitored. Oh, yeah, well, cluster, right? Cluster is and managing logs and these correct. Our syslog just needs to be set for everything, and that's on, so not a finding. And then on this guy, not a finding. Boom, we got to 90. All right, guys, that's all I'm gonna do. Hold on, file, save all checklists. Boom, save all my checklists so they're all good. And the true devil, I'm here to help mankind. Have been lied to. Whose timestamp? Something tell mankind you've been watched. Employees says they don't like on Mars. What the search for? Interesting. Interesting. All right, so let's keep moving. So we've got this part done. The main thing that I want to do, I've got to send these over to one customer, and then I've got a set of other things to send over to another customer. I'll do that tomorrow. I don't want to get these mixed up, so I'm gonna close out my STIG viewer for now, and I'll just come over here. I'm not gonna give this talk tonight, but I'll commit to doing this talk here in the next few weeks. But we've got a primer on getting ready for the Certified in Cybersecurity, which is a test that the first 1 million of those tests are free from ISC squared. So if you guys are familiar with ISC squared and want to get more into cybersecurity and that kind of stuff, you can do that. So, all right, let's go back over here. So we were looking in my home lab. I need to clean some of this up. I actually have a problem in the home lab. Let me show you guys. And I wasn't really wanting to work on this, but I ran out of the other stuff. So we'll come over here and let's see if we can't get XCP-NG up and running, which it should come up here. I've been taking my system off the home, so some of these have to reconnect. But this is the home lab environment, right? We've got all my stuff. Home lab here, boom. Here's my nodes, right? I got a couple of servers behind me, and then they've got their rack information. But I need to go look at some of these nodes are not coming up in a proper fashion. So we're gonna go look at what's going on with these different nodes. Like why won't this one boot here correctly? So we're gonna start them up, and then we'll go in here and system CTL list units state equals failed. See if there's any failed units. So our network manager says he's busted here, so that's not optimal. But I'm gonna watch this node and see if Rocky 5 comes up. And tail-f var log werewolf. So in here we should see this node as he starts to come up and he's pulling his information. See Rocky 5 right here? That's the node that's starting over here, Rocky 5. And he's going to be pulling his logs. So let's see if there's anything busted around this node coming up. We're doing some home lab troubleshooting, right? He's pulling his stage file, but when we were watching him boot the other day, he was getting to a certain spot and he was failing. Werewolf is a cluster manager that is run by a company called CIQ, and I've been doing a lot more Werewolf clusters lately. In fact, well, no. The stuff you just saw me cleaning up out of those STIGs was from a Bright cluster, which is an NVIDIA tool. So if you ever want to go, Google or look up Bright cluster. All right, so let's see. We were getting a failure in here, right around here. Look, here's my hardware address and my home lab, and he's getting. Oh, so this is the problem. He's getting 192.168.200.55. No, that's right. That's what we expect for him. The .200 is that internal network, and now he broke right here. Hold on, something happened where failed to start switch route, emergency route to the shell. You might want to save, or okay, that's fine. I'm not worried about that. But why will my system drop into this? Right? Like what happened that over here he stopped getting his runtime, and he download this runtime image. So I have a couple of things I want to fix here. So there's these wwctl commands for Werewolf, and I'm going to say overlay build for Rocky 5. So I'm going to see if it needs to rebuild the overlay for that node. If I do that, and then I reboot this, right? This is the fastest way to just find out. Does that work? You know, does that fix what's kind of going on with the system? If you guys want to know a little more about Werewolf as a tool, right? This is the user guide here, so I'll link this to you guys that kind of want it, and you can go read about it. I got it up in the home lab, and basically allows us, it's really powerful in stateless provisioning. So I can restart this machine over and over again here, and theoretically it should be able to keep coming up as a new node. So right here, the node's going to actually boot off of a Pixie boot, and when it comes up to Pixie boot, it's going to start grabbing its information right here. Look, it's got the right IP address, it's got this port that it's going to connect back from, and it's going to go grab everything like it did earlier, and then hopefully this time with a rebuilt overlay, because that's where the thing was failing, was right at the end with the init RD off the overlay. Init RD. Oh well, it's gonna, you'll find often that closed captioning doesn't do well with actually figuring out what people are talking about. So all right. But yeah, Werewolf is kind of going to be the way that I do most of my... So when I give you guys access to the Professional Linux Users Group, which you have access if you're part of the... You know, if you join the Discord, which is free, and you go down Sandbox, you can see how to get access to these systems. And there's all these different nodes, right? And then the Werewolf nodes are still coming up. But this should still start. Ah, there he is. Okay, he's started. Good. So now over here, SSH to Rocky 5, and the Rocky 5 node is up. Yep. There he is. Perfect. All right. So now, since we got that part fixed, there's a whole bunch of other things we're going to do in this environment. White train on yourself. You have so much data. Closed captioning. Yeah, the closed cap. I don't know. I could probably mess with that. We got enough home lab stuff that we could run our own closed captioning if we wanted. Yeah. But, I don't know, I prefer giving you guys, like, the access to these systems to be able to go in and do systems engineering stuff. I keep telling you guys that I'm going to set up that 16-week course. I just was kind of spitballing it the other day when I was at my wrestling camp. I was up in Colorado for the weekend. And I'm going to plan that out more this weekend with everybody. And I'm gonna finally get that course like really moving for people that are like interested. And it's gonna have, I'm gonna have discussion posts. I'm gonna have probably some grades. I'm gonna have some place where people can go and check their grades. I think that'll be fun. And then we'll just, if anybody manages to get through it all and do all the work, then I don't know, we'll do some kind of like ProLUG certificates or something. Say you did a 16-week course on Linux systems administration. Yeah, Robe Dom, grades aren't that scary. You just gotta keep powering through, you know. So, just gotta keep powering through. That's the goal. All right. Here's what I'm gonna do, guys. It's kind of late. I'm gonna hop off of here. Well, I don't know. Let's do a little more work. Let's not hop off yet. We got more work to do. Let's make sure, actually, so hold on. So you can do, let me show you guys something. So in this environment here, I can exit and I can do overlay build, but I don't have to do a specific node, and it'll build the overlays for all my nodes, right? And then just for fun, just for fun, we'll just say, wwctl, nodes, I think it's nodes list. Might be nodes, yeah, it's list. So there's my nodes. So I could just say for I in, and then just do like sec 1 to 5, right? Do SSH Rocky $1 or $I, right? And then uptime, right? Done. And this will just hit all the nodes real quick. Make sure I can hit all the nodes. That's weird. It's already super weird that I can't get in the first one. Can I get in two? I'm just gonna manually check them all. Okay, one is down for some reason, right? So let's go. He's down. Why is he down hard? Let's go look. He's also in one of those failed switch root states, so we're gonna reboot him as well. So I'm glad he wasn't just sitting there spinning that whole time. Let's do that same thing. This is the same way that we do not all our troubleshooting, but we can just tail and we can see that node come up. You'll notice sometimes that I put spaces like this in my tail-f. Tail-f just locks your terminal into a follow of a file, right? So we're following that file as it's written in real time. And when I hit enter a couple times like that, it's just so that it's easier for me visually to catch if there was a break. And it's the same thing with, like, if I was looking at a file like this and then there was like something happening over here, or I was going to restart like a web server, I might hit enter a few times so it gives me some space, and then boom, now I've got this, and then I go, okay, that's good. Let's wait for the next event to happen. And then like the spaces are for me. They don't affect the system in any way. So I hope you guys understand that. But look, it's real easy for me to see, okay, this node came up. Why did he get a 200.91? He's grabbing a DHCP address. That's not the way that he should be doing that. Also, he's booting via Dracket, and he's using the container Rocky 9 Lab, which is the correct container. But for some reason, this node grabbed a .91 address when he should have grabbed a .51 address. His address is .51 in my environment. So maybe that affects him, maybe it doesn't. But let's see. Does he know he's a Rocky 1 box? Okay. And then .91. So maybe that's also another reason that you might not be able to connect to him if he's on a 91 and you think he's a .51. But let's see what happens when he comes back up here. When he gets all provisioned, let's go kind of. But over here we can see what's happening. We can verify that he got the right kernel, right? This is the 5.14.0-427 kernel of Rocky 9. I'm running Rocky 9.3 in this environment, and let's see if he comes up correctly. All right, he did come up correctly, but can I connect to him here? Yep. And what's his IP address? His IP address is the correct 51. But when he first came up, for some reason his iPixie grabbed a .91. We see that right here. You say, Scott, how do you know that? I see it right here. This is how he was communicating from his iPixie to my Werewolf server. Werewolf is its own server over here. Look, this is Werewolf. These are the different Rocky boxes that are container provision stateless nodes underneath the system, right? And some of you guys watched a few months ago now when I built them all. The goal of this, and let me show you guys something else. This is kind of a cool little tool that I found the other day. I'm gonna work with the guys. Have you guys ever seen this tool, Teammate? Let me show you guys this. This is cool. So with Teammate, you can give somebody access to a system through just a little, basically you send them like a session, just like, it's teammate.io. But you basically just send them a little session file, and it just connects. Yeah, it's amazing. You share a terminal. Yeah, I actually was working with one of our customers the other day that I used to work with all the time, but I haven't been in their cluster for about a month and a half, and they called me up and asked me, yeah, they send you something like this, and then you just connect right in to their system on like a TMOC session. Well, it's really awesome, and what I want to do, and I'm going to talk to Robodom, or Robodom can help too if he wants, but it's not quite zero trust. I mean, it's more of just like you could generate these keys and send them to people. So what I was gonna talk to Fisherman about is we could just have people ask. Actually, I could probably just build it, but we could have people just ask in the Discord, for their username or whatever, And then I don't know if the Discord bot can, if any Discord tooling is allowed to whisper users directly. That's the only thing that'll make this a little harder. But I could have it, somebody can ask for a key, then they can just get a key and just get a session directly into our system. And that would be the easiest and coolest lab way for me to give people access to the lab. Because then I would have access to who was connected to what. I would be able to see very quickly, with my logging. Some of you guys have seen my stuff, right? Some of you guys have seen like my home lab monitoring, right? Obviously we monitor Ranger Dog, right? But God damn it, Ranger Dog is the least of our monitoring. That's a very small part of our overall monitoring, right? Don't we also monitor in our environment? Don't we also monitor a fair amount of all our... Oh, apparently I also got to log in. I think I can get in there. And then this is like my logs in my home lab. We've got our servers and our security, right? Some of you guys have seen, here's all my internal Linux boxes and their system usage. I can see that my server root usage isn't too high. Wait, one of them is. Hostbox is getting pretty high. I need to go clean him up. Hostbox is the only server in my environment I really care about. And then here's my security stuff, people getting logged out and stuff like that. Xshunyam, there's things on Twitch. You could talk to the guys about ways to get around them. I'm a streamer, so I can't technically tell you any of the ways around ads on Twitch, but I can tell you that I know they exist. I hate ads. I just pay like the $12 a month or whatever. But no, I can tell you that you can ask down in the Discord and people will help you. I just don't. I don't do any of that stuff because for whatever reasons. But yeah, any of these guys can help. Yes, I just technically can't. So yeah, no, I agree. It breaks the flow. I agree. It messes everything up. I can't stand ads, so I just pay them the $12 a month or whatever. I'm one of those turbo guys. I'm one of those guys that has a little turbo thing by their name. But anyways, let's go look at our logs and apps. So these are all in the last 6 hours. Anybody who's tried to log into my server, and how have they failed, and what IP address did they come from, and all that kind of stuff. Some Herbert and root. A lot of people trying to come in as root. Root's the most common, and guys, in modern Linux operating systems, root never locks. So I try not to let you guys, if you guys have seen my security setup, we don't allow root to log in remotely in our environment. Now, that being said, in air-gapped high-performance compute clusters, a lot of times for convenience, the root user does have keys everywhere. But I can tell you there's a NIST standard on that. The NIST standard is 800-57 for keys. -145 is the other stuff. 57, I think, is keys. Yeah, keys is 57. And you can go look at what the recommendation is for if you are going to use keys. And I tell you guys this all the time. There's nobody that's going to come into most organizations, if you're not a publicly traded company, and like slap handcuffs on somebody if you don't follow these. But it's easier to start with something like this than from a blank page. It's very hard, guys. It's very hard as an engineer to start from a blank page. So it's much easier to go and grab a publication like this and then pick out the things that you want and have a good framework that you can apply pretty good, what we call reasonable security, due diligence, due care. There's all these different terms that are out there for the different things. But yeah, there was our STIG thing earlier. Like that's just a good one. Put a STIG in there. Let people know. Yeah, sending. I'm on a little late. I was doing a bunch of STIG work earlier. Yeah, and then I got all done with that. And now we're just in the home lab fixing the overlay. Oh, and I was showing people Teammate. Teammate is a cool little tool that you can use to share out connections to people getting into your server. So don't worry, I'm going to be putting this up. I'm going to be rebuilding my P01 Jumpo 1 box, which is my main home lab box that you guys always see me jumping around and screen in. He will eventually get replaced by P01 Jumpo 2. So I'll have a new one of those. Teammate's super cool. I got called up by one of my old clients just the other day, and he they were having problems. Their GPFS was down for their whole cluster, and they sent me one of these, and I just connected right in, and it was cool. So it worked pretty well. So, all right. So in my home lab, though, I was having Rocky 1 and Rocky 5 were not coming back up anymore. So we were watching them boot, right? We were watching them, and I was showing you guys when I watch log files, I'll sometimes hit enter. That's where these little spaces in my tail-f were. But what we were doing was we did a full overlay rebuild in the cluster because maybe that's what the problem was. And honestly, that looks like it fixed both Rocky 5 and Rocky 1. So we're just kind of hammering out this stuff. Now, these nodes, so these nodes, so there's a whole bunch of information about them, right? So let's get out of Rocky, go back to our werewolf system. Oh, hopefully I can type. WCTL is the werewolf control. It's got all this stuff. And I can say nodes list. And then I can say node show -A Rocky 1. And that's Rocky 1. I think it's -A like that. No, maybe it's dash. Oh, it's lit. God damn it. I can never. Yeah. So here, look at all this information about the Rocky profile, and I can change all of this stuff. Oh, I like that sending. It's like this big giant do all the Linux. I like that. It's pretty great. You can make giga emotes. That's the first time that's ever happened in stream sending, in case anybody wants to know. We need to like clip that for posterity's sake. But look here, I can put comments in. Here's my containers. So then you say, wait a minute, Scott, you have this Rocky Linux 9-lab container. And I say, yeah. So I can go build, so I can do containers list, right? So wwctl containers list, right? Or container. I always get those mixed up. And now I can see, well, I originally downloaded the one, which was, so I did Rocky 8 for fun. And then I did my Rocky 9 Linux, but I didn't want to change him, so I made a Rocky 9 lab off of him. And then I think I was having some problems, so I downloaded this very specific... Oh, I downloaded this very specific 8.8 because this was the one that I was going to use. If you guys recall, I was building out part of the cluster, and I wanted to put open on-demand on it. Yeah, Robdom, I appreciate you coming by, man. You're welcome to hang out whenever. Oh. It's the 15th. Oh, I got to go check some stuff around that too. But yeah, Rodon, we'll talk here later this week, and you're always welcome on Saturdays and stuff with the group. So yeah, I definitely appreciate you guys coming by. So guys, look, these are my base container images. Now this is where it starts to really get fun with this. So watch this. So let's go. I'm gonna open a new one of these for fun. Let's go to my P01 Jumpo 1 box. Let's pull this up over here. I'm going to do this like this because terminals... let's talk systems engineering for a second here. Hold on. Let me show you guys something. Terminals like this are great for like one-off getting into boxes, but they are terrible for doing like systems administration. Like if I have to just go kick a node over, yeah, I got to get to the console. But otherwise, I want to be in an environment like this. Let's get this out of the way. Because I can grab and copy stuff out of here. You can't grab and copy stuff out of that other tool. So watch this. So sudo let's do. Yeah, we'll become root for this, and then. History grep-i for SSH because I'm lazy, and here is my, where's my SSH to my werewolf? Nope, no werewolf, huh? All right, clear it. SSH Scott at werewolf. My cluster requires me to go in as a lower user and then sudo up, and then I have my lab. So now I'm over here as werewolf. So the reason I'm showing you this in two labs is for this. Watch. SSH to Rocky 1. And let's learn something about the stateless nature of these nodes. Rocky 1, if I say DNF install Cowsay, our favorite tool, right? Oh, my lab's busted. Looks like I only have... Can he ping? he can't ping. Oh shoot! Well, that's dumb. Cat Etsy resolve.conf. So here's a problem. He doesn't have any way to get out. So let's go look over here at his resolve.conf. So we're going to vi that file, and it says that we can generate these, right? And we get host source, and we can get any name servers if there were any. If any equals prefix, DNS, then we would make them into a name server. But I can also go to the end of this, and I can hard set this. Environment allows for more creative. Oh yeah, I can mess around in my home lab all I want. But let's just say name server 8.8.8.8, and let's verify over here that I can ping. Yeah, I can ping that no problem, because my home lab doesn't stop that in any way. Let's just escape :WQ. Let's rebuild our. So we're gonna do Control R, overlay, right? And then we'll hit Shift R to go back. Oops, Control Shift R. Oops. Ah, there we go. Control Shift R. Control R will go forward through the list. Okay. Overlay build. Oh, Control Shift R. Let's do just rebuild all overlays real quick. So that file came in through an overlay. So let's cat Etsy resolve.conf, and it's still not there. So let's reset, reboot our box, and then we'll go ahead and just ping him till he comes up. And that node is going to go down and come back up. And when he does, we're hoping that his Etsy resolve.conf is set, because it was built as part of that overlay, and it's a part of the root FS overlay. So you say, well, what does that mean? Well, watch this. So we come over here, and we can actually go and we can affect that file. We did just go affect that file, but I can also come back here and go, oh, what the heck's going on here? No, it's not that far back. So we're going to list everything here, grep-i for overlay, and I'll see that his runtime overlay is this generic one, and then his systems overlay is wwinit, which here is that overlay right here. wwinit is that overlay. I can build other overlays. Like I can have an overlay that's specifically designed for, like, let's say lab 1. And then on nodes, like Rocky nodes that I want to be lab 1 for the day, I can set that. Poststream 2 is not usually distributed on all distros. MTR. I have not used MTR. Interesting. Let's let this node come back up. But I want to show you guys that I should be able to set these things. And if I can't set it in the overlay here, I'll actually go in and I will wwctl container exec. And I should be able to container exec. Let's go to container. What was that, like Rocky? Oh shoot, I forget what the container was earlier. You guys gotta remember, I have a short-term memory. We could go check them again. I got it right here. Hold on. So ping's coming back now. Let's go look at here's this. So here's our container. Lab exec bin bash, and now whoops, copy exec container. Oh, exec has to go over here. There we go. Now I've dropped in here, and this will rebuild this container with things. Now we're gonna go check this real quick though first, and cat Etsy resolve.conf. Well, it would help if I spelled it right, guys. There he is. There's our name server. So if I ping, we have it. But the reason I didn't do it over here first is I wanted to show you that this would overwrite it anyways. But in this container that I'm in now over here on the left, I can CD to Etsy. I'm actually in the Rocky 9 lab container in a CH rooted environment in this exec, and I'm going to CD to Etsy. And then I'm just going to vi resolve.conf, And this is what was there, but it's been overwritten by this. This is what's coming in the overlay, and this is what I had originally put in there, but that's getting overwritten. So you got to know where things come from. Now, I just successfully exited, so I'm going to echo $question mark. Does everybody know what this is going to do? If you don't know what it's going to do, let me know and I'll tell you. But when you exit 0 on anything, and by the way, forever now, I could exit 0 from the last command, but I could also have a mistake. Echo $question mark. And if you have any type of mistake, you will not exit 0 on your command, and you will have something else. The reason I show you guys that is this. Watch. If I do that, and then I exit this container, it'll say, hey, buddy, you didn't do what you meant to do in that container right, so you're an idiot, and then I'm not going to do it. Yeah, I'm not going to... On a failed exit code, it won't do anything. But watch, if I jump back in there, and I just, let's say vi root Scott, we'll call this lab file, right? And in here I say this is lab 1, container, right? Escape : WQ. Now I exit, and it's going to do a DNF, and it's going to clean all, and it's going to fix that whole setup there. It's gonna the DNF is the clean of all the stuff. It's gonna rebuild the container, and then now if I were to rebuild or reboot any of these nodes, which we're about to, you never saw me do anything in this Rocky box that had anything to do with that file, that lab file inside of root. But now when this container's done rebuilding, have search malformed? You're probably right. Oh, that's actually super useful. I never even thought about that. Just having a $question mark in my shell's PS1, because then I could see. I never even thought to do that. That's actually Sending. You still around? Do you ever use that? Sending does a whole lot more scripting than even I do, but that's pretty useful. That's actually pretty useful. All right, so let's do this real quick. I like that. I might have to play with that. Let's ping. Oh, we know Rocky's down. Let's ping him for a second. We could watch him boot, right? This is one of these things I tell you guys. Like, you could, if you really have to, you want to know what your tools are, and you want to know how to use them. But if I didn't think this box could come up cleanly, I could come over here and watch him boot up. Yeah, I never thought to even do that, Sending. That's actually pretty smart. So I could, this is like fanatically down in the, if I had hardware problems on a device, I'd be down here, right? This is hard. And if you guys don't know the difference between a console access here and like an SSH access is only, like, your box has to be pretty healthy to get SSH up, right? Like, SSHD needs to be started. There needs to be an IP address. It needs to be on the network. It needs to be all these other things. This console over here, this is a virtual machine. He only exists in the memory of this box here. So I can physically watch this the exact same as if I pushed a crash card over there and pushed, put an actual console cable like directly into this box in some way, if that makes sense. Yeah, Sending. I do echo $question mark. Not super often, but enough that it matters, I think. So, yeah. You guys can see my PS1. I think that's the one that I have. This is just default with the box that I have. Look, the system's booting. I should see pings start. Whoops. This is really critical right here. This is like the most important. And it goes away almost as fast as you get it. It shows you the overlays being written. Yeah. Yeah. Also, certain PS1s are gonna look. They're gonna look like bad code to the Twitch, and they're not gonna send. All right, our ping's back. This is a container, so it comes up pretty quick. Well, strictly speaking, it's not a container; it's a system image. But we SSH in there. We ls in the directory we're in, and we say, "Oh, here's our lab file." But this lab1 container file is baked into that werewolf image now here. So if I copy this Rocky Linux 9 lab to like Rocky Linux, 9 lab 1, it would stay in there. But if I wanted things that were going to be dynamic, I would go and I would build them into those overlays, and then those overlays would have them, work a different way. So I just want you guys to know that in cluster management, there's one of these things where there's a lot of different ways to do things. And a lot of times, like, I like to keep static things static, and I like to keep dynamic things dynamic. So those things, it gets longer and better with that. Yeah. Fair enough. Oh, also, I missed the simplistic polemic. Hopefully, thanks for the follow. I missed that. Oh wow, that's pretty good. All right, so like things that would be an example of things that are like, so you can also think of them as like pre-baked. These things over here are pre-baked into the image. Like if I have a security requirement that I must have, a certain type of tooling, like I must have gzip must be the only type of zip in my system, and bzip must be completely removed because it's old, whatever. I would do that over here in the container. I would build that over here. I wouldn't do that like in the overlays or that kind of stuff later, if that kind of makes sense. So that's definitely something to think about. Oh, also, hold on, this is busted. There we go. Should be back working again. Let's get my terminals back in the way here. All right. But yeah, I was here mostly. If any of you guys are in here and you're like, he's not doing STIGs, I was doing the STIGs the whole first 2 hours I was on. And I just hadn't streamed in a while, so I was like, I'm going to stream for a bit and tell you guys about the Discord and all that stuff. There's our Discord for people on Twitch. I'll put over there for you guys over on YouTube as well. The thing about our Twitch, or the thing about our Discord, is it's, free. You can go hang out there all you want. Never going to charge you nothing. It's just a bunch of other engineers that are in the space that want to help you go from being maybe like a hobbyist into doing this stuff professionally. That's the stated goal of our group. I've been running it for just over 10 years, the Professional Linux Users Group, which is ProLUG. And, we've gotten, if I had to guess, for sure hundreds into the industry. I wouldn't say quite yet that we're at thousands, but we're at many hundreds that have gotten into the industry over the years from this group. And, had good, I think, good careers, right? I have a lot of resources down there for you guys. It's all free. You can do whatever you want in there. All right. But I didn't really have much of a plan with the lab tonight. So what I think I'm going to do on these Rocky boxes, right? These are just called Rocky boxes because I was building this out. I think my plan for the home lab is going to look like this. We're gonna get these Rockies built up the way we want. I'm going to maybe even build a few more of them out and get enough of them that I want them to be there. Yeah, Enchanting Wolf, you're welcome to hang around here. Fisherman's one of our guys. Fisherman was on streaming earlier. Let me see if I can do a shout out to him. I don't know if I can, because I always leave that to Robodom, and now I'm useless without him. Fisherman guy, bro. I'm gonna shout him out for you guys, because if you don't follow him, he does a lot of AWS. He does a lot of AI ML type stuff, and you really should check out his stuff. Like, he's got really good stuff. He's on a little earlier in the night because he's East Coast time, so he's probably, he's in bed because it's 2 a.m. there or whatever. But he was on earlier. He was doing some stuff. He's generated a lot of images for our group and done other stuff like that. Join my Discord name is a bit unprofessional. Oh gosh, Enchanted Wolf, I'll assure you that our Discord has way more unprofessional names than most people have, but that's fine. We don't care about any of that stuff. And you also find that it's like you're like, oh, this is the Professional Linux Users Group, but all Scott does is share memes all day when he's supposed to be working. That's also true. So there you go. Also, I tell you guys all the time, I don't care if anybody finds out who I am. I'm a real person. I don't like hide. You'll see in my presentations I have my name up there all the time. It's not hard to find out who I am in the industry. I have been doing this for a long time. I have been teaching it at the post-secondary college level for 15, almost 16. It'll be 16 years in December that I've been teaching college. So that's wild to me because I'm not that old, but I am a grandpa too. So I became a grandpa in my 30s. So that's kind of wild. So all right, let's go find. I will have more to do on this soon. I will have more in the lab, like more of a plan in the future. But I definitely appreciate everybody hanging out. Let's go to our little end of stream thing. Let's go find somebody to raid on the Twitch side. Maybe somebody's hanging out. We tend to find BlazeBits on this slate, but not always. I'll tell you guys who we're gonna go. We're gonna switch gears a little bit. I'm gonna go raid somebody who he's one of my favorite streamers. We'll go raid over to him, and you know, it's actually going to a gaming thing. He's a little more loud too, but hopefully you guys find his stuff fun as I do. So I will see you guys. Some of you guys will see tomorrow night, and I might stream a little bit tomorrow night talking with Michael Pessa if I can get him to hop up here and we'll talk shop and stuff. So that'll be good. All right, we'll talk later, guys. Take care.